I won 5 million on a lottery ticket I bought for 4 yuan. Before I could even celebrate, I got into a car accident. The medical bills came up to a staggering 4.9 million, yet, my husband stood by my bedside and said, if you were sensible, you wouldn't have gotten such an expensive injury. He took off with 5 million and his true love. I opened my eyes and found myself back at the lottery stand. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating, my husband's profile picture flashing frantically. I knew he had been reborn too. Just as I realized my 4 yuan lottery ticket had hit the 5 million jackpot, a massive Cullinan slammed into my car. My body was tossed and crushed inside the mangled vehicle, like a rag doll. Even through the excruciating pain, I remember thinking, is this lottery win enough to cover my medical bills? Then I was rushed to the hospital. I was severely injured and remained in the ICU. I heard the doctor say, multiple fractures, organ damage, brain injury. We can only continue to observe, there's little hope of recovery. I wanted to tell them I could still be saved, but I couldn't speak. Ji Yanli's voice, trembling slightly, rang out, Nian Nian, I'm sorry, I can't save you. The doctor said the treatment would cost 4.9 million. 4.9 million, there's nothing I can do. If you were sensible, you wouldn't get such an expensive injury. I quietly listened as his voice shifted from heartbroken sobs to helpless rage. He's always like this. Quick to blame others for his own shortcomings, but I won 5 million in the lottery. Oh, and he doesn't know I won the lottery. I want to tell him the lottery ticket is in my room, in the drawer, so he can go cash it in. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make a sound. This is so frustrating. As I was silently battling with myself, a sweet, feminine voice echoed from the room again. Are you done yet, Ayen? I pricked up my ears. That voice sounds familiar. Why are you crying? She's the one who got into this accident, driving carelessly. Even the traffic police said it was entirely her fault. Luckily, the other party's injuries were minor, so they're not pursuing it. Look at her. She's beyond saving. Even if we spend all our money, we need money for so many things. Why waste it on a lost cause? Alright, let's go, or we'll miss our flight. After a moment, I felt a hand caress my face. A man's trembling hand. Nian Nian, I'm sorry, please don't blame me. Their footsteps faded into the distance, disappearing beyond the door. Silence filled the room, broken only by the cold, indifferent beeping of the machines. Looks like this is the end for me. I feel a pang of resentment. All my life's good fortune, only to benefit someone else in the end. If I had a do-over, I'd never buy another lottery ticket. That's impossible. Reborn. I walked into the same lottery station at the exact same time. The lottery ticket worth 5 million yuan was back in my hands. This time, everything that belongs to me, I'm taking it all back, too. I sat at the bus stop across from the lottery shop, twirling the lucky ticket between my fingers. My phone vibrated incessantly in my bag. I pulled it out, and Ji Yanli's profile picture was flashing wildly on the screen. This was his 13th call to me. Interesting. By this point in our previous life, we had already stopped talking much. After countless arguments, cold wars, and his mother fanning the flames, our marriage finally reached a point of no return. When that car accident happened, I was on my way to the Civil Affairs Bureau to file for divorce, and at this very moment, his 13 consecutive calls to me are quite suspicious. I forced a smile and answered the call. Nian Nian, he sounded relieved, but also a little reproachful. Why haven't you been answering your phone? I held the lottery ticket up to the light. Do I need a reason not to answer your calls? He choked for a moment. Then asked again, where are you? I casually replied, just get to the point. His tone was incredibly gentle. We haven't had a meal together in a long time. How about we have dinner at home tonight? I'll make you sweet and sour pork ribs. You really like them, don't you? Well, this is a surprise. CEO G, who hasn't set foot in a kitchen since we got married, is actually going to cook for me. He must be after something big. I smirked, saying nothing. Ji Yanli was exceptionally patient today. Where are you right now? Can I come pick you up? Nanhu Road, not Sis Hui Bei, he quickly asked. I narrowed my eyes. What Sis Hui Bei? He cleared his throat twice, as if trying to cover something up. Nothing. I just saw someone who looked a lot like you at Sis Hui Bei. I warily looked around. What were you doing at Sis Hui Bei? Meeting a client. I'm heading back to the office soon. Ji Yanli's voice returned to normal. I thought you might be nearby, so I figured I could give you a ride back. No need, I said calmly. I'll just come straight to your office. He seemed a bit surprised, then quickly said, okay, I'll wait for you then. I stood behind the Sichuan bus stop sign, watching the lottery shop. A moment later, a man walked out. It's Ji Yanli. I laughed. Looks like he's back too. 3. Ji Yanli must have just been reborn, otherwise he would have been waiting at the lottery station, ready to pounce. Why didn't he buy it himself? Did he forget the numbers? I scoffed under my breath. I must have been truly unlucky in my past life to have fallen for a scumbag like you, but this time, oh, I'm going to make sure you know my money isn't that easy to get your hands on, and my heart isn't that easy to fool either. Let me think. Where should I hide the lottery ticket? An hour later, I arrived at Ji Yanli's company. The receptionist told me that Mr. Ji was in a meeting and led me to his office to wait, pushing the door open. I saw a woman sitting at the desk, painting her nails. She looked up at me. That face, I remember now. Jiang Yan, the high school sweetheart and campus beauty who was Ji Yanli's first love. She had a beautiful face and a slender figure. Her violin performance at the opening ceremony captivated everyone, leaving a lasting impression. Countless high school boys fell head over heels for her. Ji Yanli was naturally among them. Unfortunately, Jiang Yan, who appeared aloof, was actually quite materialistic and looked down on these losers. She merely strung them along as simps with her soft whispers, feigned hesitation, and flirtatious glances. After graduating high school, she effortlessly snagged the wealthy campus heartthrob and went to study abroad. I heard she married into a wealthy family as soon as she came of age. Why is she back in the country now? And in Ji Yanli's office of all places? The receptionist looked a bit awkward. Oh, Assistant Jiang. You're here. Jiang Yan's slender, willow-like brows furrowed. This is Mr. Ji's office. Who told you to let unauthorized people in? The receptionist blushed, having been scolded. This is Mrs. Ji. The moment Jiang Yan spoke, my ears started ringing. Are you done yet, hubby? Look at her. She's beyond saving. Even if you spend all your money, we're perfectly capable, and money is needed everywhere. Why waste it on a good-for-nothing? The corners of my lips curled upward. So, it's you, you thieving homewrecker. 4. Jiang Yan leaned back casually. Oh, Mrs. Ji, my apologies. Mr. Ji has never mentioned you. I'm here with Mr. Ji every day, and I've never seen a single photo of his family in the office. My apologies for not recognizing you. But after meeting Mrs. Ji today, I can somewhat understand Mr. Ji. She covered her mouth, feigning a laugh. Honestly, his wife is a bit unpresentable. Mr. Ji probably feels too embarrassed to show off any photos. Haha, yeah, Ji Yanli never keeps my photos at the office. Besides our wedding photos, Ji Yanli and I have very few pictures together, but I once saw a photo of Jiang Yan, an old student ID photo, tucked away in a hidden compartment of Ji Yanli's wallet. One time, he got drunk and collapsed by the sofa, staring at this photo for a long time. How utterly devoted. A cold laugh echoed in my heart. Seeing my silence, Jiang Yan continued, but Mrs. Ji, you really need to be sensible. This is a company. Stray cats and dogs should just wait obediently at home for their master's favor. Running wild outside will only get you a beating. I put my hands behind my back, stretched my knuckles, and walked to the desk with a smile. Exactly. When stray cats and dogs cause trouble, they deserve a beating. With a sharp smack, I slapped her left cheek, and before she could even register it, I landed another blow on her right. Ah, you bitch, you, she shrieked, trying to get up, but I was quicker. I grabbed her hair and slammed her head down onto the table, holding it there firmly. You thieving bastard, how dare you steal my money? 5. The receptionist's mouth dropped open into an O shape. Mrs. Ji. The commotion from the office drew a crowd of onlookers. Whoa, who is that? So badass. She claims to be Mr. Ji's wife. What kind of show is this? Isn't it obvious? The legitimate wife is here to confront the mistress. Oh my god, Assistant Jiang is in such a terrible situation. She's miserable, and I'm loving every minute of it. Haha, I can't stand her usual fake act. She's clearly a manipulative schemer. I mean, seriously, the wife is way too overbearing. Just throwing hands whenever she feels like it. No wonder Mr. Ji is cheating. Assistant Jiang is so gentle. Ugh, you scumbag, if you're so brave, say it louder so I can hit you too. The colleague's whispers made Jiang Yan's face burn. She shrieked, her usual dignified demeanor completely gone. Let me go. Ah Yan won't let you get away with this. I tightened my grip. Shoo, you're so loud. I remember you weren't like this in high school. Goddess Jiang. Her struggling stopped abruptly. I smirked. First, I'm not just your boss's wife, I hold shares and equity in this company. Strictly speaking, I'm also your boss. Second, as an assistant, you're not doing your job during work hours, but hiding in the office doing your nails. This is a serious violation of the employee handbook. The third one, I grabbed her hair, forcing her head back, and she let out a cry of pain. Didn't anyone tell you that if you're going to be a mistress, you should expect to get hit? Jiang Yan whimpered, then burst into tears. It's your husband who doesn't want you. How can you blame me when you can't even control your own husband? I'm not the other woman. Yan loves me, not you. You're the one shamelessly clinging to his wife's position. Yan, save me. I watched her with indifference. These days, people who knowingly break up marriages act so self-righteously. It's truly a sign of declining morals. But looking at how eager she is to climb the ranks. She probably isn't someone who's been reborn, right? Otherwise, she'd at least wait until she had 5 million in hand before pushing me out. Jiang Yan struggled fiercely, and a jade pendant on a red string fell from her chest. My breath caught, and I snatched the jade pendant. The jade is a deep, lustrous black, with a subtle, understated sheen. Carved into the jade are a majestic tiger, a soft and endearing lamb, and an elegant, mysterious snake. It's a jade pendant my father left for me. My dad saw it at a temple when our family went to offer incense there when I was a child. The jade piece had our family's zodiac signs carved right into it. Dad felt this jade had a special connection to us, so he brought it home and wore it constantly, believing it would keep our family safe. Sadly, both my parents passed away during my high school years, and the jade was left to me. Later, after I married Ji Yanli, he had a minor accident during one of his business trips, so I gave him the jade. When I married him, I was an orphan with nothing to offer, but he gave me a home. I just want him to be safe and sound. But now, that jade was adorning another woman. My chest tightened with a bitter ache, and my eyes grew cold. Just then, hurried footsteps approached from a distance. What in the world is going on? 6. I turned around. Ji Yanli walked into the office, his brows furrowed. He glanced at Jiang Yan, then his gaze, filled with displeasure, landed on me. Jiang Yan instantly transformed, becoming fragile and delicate, a stark contrast to the raging madwoman she'd been moments before. Ah Yan, Jiang Yan sobbed pitifully. Ah Yan, she said she's your wife. She just came in and hit me, and called me a homewrecker. Ah Yan, you said I wasn't a homewrecker. I'm in so much pain. Tell her to let go of me. Ji Yanli's face darkened. Shen Nianji, let go of her, hitting people indiscriminately, without any reason. Look at yourself now. What kind of behavior is that? I stared intently at him. What kind of behavior? The behavior of a legal wife beating up her husband's mistress. Of course, Ji Yanli choked, his tone softening. Don't misunderstand. She's just my assistant. I held up the jade pendant. Oh, so Miss Jiang is a thief. Then, I highly doubt a boss would give his wife's belongings to an assistant, would he? Ji Yanli was startled when he saw the jade pendant, and his eyes dropped. A little guilty, Jiang Yan looked at Ji Yanli mournfully, her watery eyes evoking pity. Yan, tell her, that was a gift from you. You said this jade had been worn for many years and had a spiritual aura that could bring safety. You said your wife wouldn't get angry, that as an orphan, she wouldn't dare to divorce you. Shut up, Ji Yanli yelled at Jiang Yan. He walked over to me, his face grim, and grabbed my arm. Let go first, let's not make a scene, he whispered. I'll explain everything to you when we get back. I stared at him coldly. Take your hands off me. He paused, then growled, Shen Nianji, don't push your luck. I stared back at him. Go on, try me. See if an orphan like me cares about face. Ji Yanli tightened his grip on my hand, but I met his gaze. Refusing to back down, a few seconds later, he slowly loosened his grip. Ha, coward, I knew it. He wouldn't dare cross me without getting his money first. Jiang Yan started sobbing again. Her face was as beautiful as ever, but beneath that beautiful facade, there was selfishness, greed, and resentment. I scoffed. I'm sure when Goddess Jiang married into that wealthy family, she had people fawning over her everywhere she went. Now she's stuck painting her nails in some small-time boss's office. Life's twists and turns, they're truly unpredictable. Ji Yanli's expression shifted repeatedly, his lips parting slightly. But Jiang Yan, after all that time in high society, how can her taste still be so awful? I picked up Jiang Yan's nail polish and slowly poured it onto her hair. Your nails are really ugly. 7. Ji Yanli, his face ashen, pulled me into the car. Then he drove to the supermarket. I was a bit surprised, then remembered he had said he'd cook dinner at home tonight. Pushing the shopping cart and buying groceries seemed to calm him down a bit. I just trailed behind him, saying nothing. Once we got home, he seemed to have completely recovered, reverting to his usual gentle and refined self. He really knows how to adapt. I sat down. The table was laden with a feast: spicy chicken, stir-fried lettuce, white jade mushroom and loofah soup, and the sweet and sour pork ribs he learned to make from my mom. Ji Yanli sat across from me, his gaze soft, his features blurred. I can't remember the last time he cooked. We've known each other since we were kids. His dad was always busy with work, and his mom loved playing mahjong, so he practically grew up eating at our house. My mom's sweet and sour pork ribs were famously delicious. Every kid in the neighborhood would come over to get a taste. Later, when I was in my last year of high school, my dad passed away from an illness. My mom was utterly heartbroken. Not long after, she followed him. I sat on the floor, clutching our family photo, until dawn broke. I don't have a home anymore. No one will ever cook for me again. The next day, Ji Yanli knocked on my door. 18 years old, he walked into my house, still in his school uniform, carrying a plate of sweet and sour pork ribs. Nyan Nyan, this is the sweet and sour pork ribs I made. You weren't around a few days ago, so I asked Auntie to teach me how to make it. I wrote down every step she told me and followed them one by one. Don't worry, I'll cook for you from now on, so you'll never go hungry. Eat up, then we'll go home. That sweet and sour pork was so bitter, the sugar had completely burned, yet, with tears streaming down my face, I ate the entire plate of ribs. Back then, I truly believed he would be my home, but now, I looked across the table. The 18-year-old Ji Yanli was gone. The 28-year-old Ji Yanli was nothing but repulsive. Nyan Nyan, why aren't you eating? Ji Yanli's voice was gentle as he placed a piece of spare rib into my bowl. I kept my head down, silent, my hand still under the table. He sighed, putting down his chopsticks. Are you still mad? He began to explain. I'm sorry, Nyan Nyan, Jiang Yan, I did have a past with her. You know, I had a crush on her back in high school. Back then, she didn't think much of me. It's not like I'm still hung up on her. It's been so many years. It's just that I had a lot of pent-up feelings back then. She reappeared recently, divorced and looking quite down on her luck. At first, I just felt sorry for her. We were classmates, so I figured I'd lend a hand, but she came on to me, and we've been on bad terms lately. Ji Yanli cleared his throat and immediately added, I'm sorry, I lost control, but I've let go now. Nyan Nyan, I know it, you're the one I truly love. She was just a phantom, something I yearned for in my youth but could never grasp. Even if I had her, it wouldn't be anything special. His eyes were incredibly sincere as he raised his hand. I swear, I don't love her, I never have, and I'll never have anything to do with her again. Tomorrow, I'm letting her go from the company. I remained silent. Ji Yanli walked over and crouched beside me. He covered my tightly clenched hand and gently unfurled it. He froze instantly. In my palm lay the jade pendant I had just snatched from Jiang Yan's neck. His voice trembled slightly. Nyan Nyan, I cut him off. Ji Yanli, as you said, I'm an orphan with nothing to my name. All my parents left me was this jade pendant. It's my most precious possession, and I gave it to you, but you just tossed it aside, using it to charm some other woman. Ji Yanli's face went pale, and his lips began to tremble. I didn't dismiss you. I'm sorry, Nyan Nyan, it was my fault. I gave a bitter laugh. You said you didn't love her. So what kind of love could there be for me? Someone you just casually tossed aside. You gave away my jade pendant, then abandoned me, barely clinging to life on a sickbed. It turns out I was discarded so long ago. How ridiculous that I'm only just realizing it now. Ji Yanli's eyes were bloodshot. He squeezed my hand hard. It's not like that. I love you. I really do. I'm sorry I shouldn't have given away your things. She begged me at the time, and I just gave in. I'll never do it again, Nyan Nyan. I won't look at anyone else from now on. I'll stay with you, and I'll protect our home. He tried to hug me, but I pulled away, staring into his bloodshot eyes. I said firmly, Ji Yanli, you are no longer my family. Find a time to finalize the divorce, as soon as possible. And by the way, your sweet and sour pork was absolutely terrible. I stood up and went back to my room. Ji Yanli was on his knees by the dining table, his face ashen. 9. I spent some time in my study reviewing work blueprints before heading to bed that night. Ji Yanli slept in the guest room next door. In the middle of the night, he crept into my room, fumbling around stealthily. I closed my eyes and pretended not to notice. I knew what he was looking for, that $5 million lottery ticket. He gently pinched my thumb to unlock my phone. He took it outside for a bit, looked through it, then put it back and quietly left. I opened my phone and switched out of the background app. Just as I thought, he went through my bills. He confirmed I bought a lottery ticket today, but he couldn't find it. Of course he couldn't find it. I hid the lottery ticket inside the computer tower when I was in the study. I'm too pressed for time today, so I'll just bring it back for now. Leaving it at home isn't safe. He'll definitely ransack the place when I'm not around. I need to find a secure spot. I turned off my phone and lay back down. Oh, don't play the prodigal son returning home with me. It's all about the money, isn't it? His company has developed steadily and made a good profit since he started his business 2 years ago. Why is he short on cash? Is maintaining a high society mistress too expensive? Anyway, I need to get this divorce done quickly. The next day was Sunday, and I had planned to sleep in. Ji Yanli said he wanted to take me to the cemetery to pay respects to my father. He looked completely natural, as if nothing had happened the day before. His mother hadn't been sleeping well for the past few days, constantly dreaming of his father. His parents didn't have a good relationship when they were alive, so his mother couldn't be bothered to make the trip herself. Instead, she urged us to go burn some joss paper for his grandfather to appease him. I was going to refuse, but then I thought about it and agreed. My parents are buried in the same cemetery, so it's a good chance to visit them too. At his father's grave, he arranged fruits, flowers, and the liquor his father used to enjoy. I lit a small bonfire and fed stacks of joss paper into it. Ji Yanli looked at me, a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. My dad always really liked you, whenever you came over. He'd secretly dip into his private stash to buy you snacks. Yeah, I remember, I murmured. In the entire Ji family, the one who treated me best wasn't Ji Yanli, but Uncle Ji. Ji Yanli squatted down with me and said, when your family had that accident in your senior year of high school, my dad insisted on bringing you to live with us. My mom, she wasn't too keen on it at the time. I just smiled. His mother wasn't just reluctant, she was vehemently opposed. Their family was of modest means, and his mother was unwilling to raise someone else's child. His father, however, was very insistent. This honest, timid man, who had been under his wife's thumb his entire life, for the first time fiercely stood up to his overbearing wife. Their home was in utter chaos during that period, with constant arguments. His mother was crying and making a scene at home, while his father stubbornly refused to say a word, displaying the obstinacy he'd shown his entire life. Thinking back, I said softly, I must have caused your family a lot of trouble back then. Ji Yanli waved his hand. My dad is a sentimental person. After being neighbors for over a decade, he wouldn't just abandon you. Besides, he'd always wanted a daughter, but it never happened for him in his lifetime. He treated you like his own daughter. Uncle Ji's kind smile on the tombstone brought tears to my eyes. I know, I whispered, if it weren't for your dad, I wouldn't have been able to go to college. Your mom always thought the tuition for my university was left to me by my parents. The truth is, my parents' money was all spent on their medical treatments. It was your dad who secretly helped me out. Ji Yanli was visibly moved. He didn't spoil you for nothing. When he passed away, we had just moved into a new house and didn't even have money to buy him a burial plot. You were the one who took all your savings from those years of work and bought him this burial plot. I know you had originally saved that money to buy burial plots for your parents. Your parents' ashes are still being kept at the columbarium. You've been a better son to me than my own. I remained silent, focusing on burning the paper offerings. Uncle Ji was a good man, and I'd always done right by him. But his son, he wronged me. I know he wants me to have a good life with Ji Yanli, but I can't do that anymore. I'm so sorry. Uncle Ji, Ji Yanli then said, Nyen Nyen. I've found a great burial plot for us, right around here. The feng shui is excellent. I'll take you to see it later. If you like it, we'll settle on it and pick a day to bury mom and dad's ashes. I said flatly, you don't need to worry about it. I'll buy my parents' graves myself. Just tell me when you want to finalize the divorce. He paused, then spoke with some difficulty. Nyen Nyen, I don't want a divorce. I really don't. Please, just give me one more chance. Dad's watching over us. He wants us to be okay too. Before I could say anything, his phone rang. He pulled out his phone, glanced at it, and his expression shifted, looking a bit uneasy. Nyen Nyen, work needs me. I need to take this call. Wait for me to come back. With that, he quickly left. I curled my lips into a sarcastic smile. Ha, it's Sunday today. No one's even at the office. Ji Yanli's lies are getting increasingly careless. 11. after burning the paper offerings in my hand. I bowed to the tombstone and then headed to the columbarium nearby. My parents' urns are kept in two adjacent niches. They were still young when they passed, only in their early 40s. The photos on their niches show them as a handsome and gentle couple, truly a perfect match. And now, I'm almost 30 myself, and I still haven't been able to properly settle my parents. I've been an unfilial child. After my parents passed, I felt incredibly insecure. Like I had no connection to this world anymore. When Uncle G and Ji Yanli reached out to me, I didn't hesitate to take their hands. I desperately want a home, I need a safe harbor, a place where I can feel truly present. That's why, for the past few years, I've practically bent over backwards for their family. My mother-in-law was harsh and difficult, but I put up with it. Ji Yanli started coming home less and less, using work as an excuse, and his temper grew worse. I put up with it. I told myself I needed to be understanding of them. My mother-in-law never liked me to begin with, and after all these years, I still haven't given them a grandchild, which only fueled her resentment. Ji Yanli was a hard worker, and the pressure only intensified when he started his own business. It was understandable that his temper would suffer. Families are supposed to be understanding and forgiving of each other, aren't they? But I never imagined my tolerance would be met with betrayal and abandonment. Families shouldn't be like this. I was wrong. I shouldn't have placed my sense of security in others. I was too weak. But heaven gave me a second chance. Maybe my parents in heaven are watching over me. Unable to bear my tragic death in my previous life, they pleaded for a second chance for me. This time, I'm going to live my life to the fullest. By the time Ji Yanli returned from his call, I was already back at Uncle G's grave. He seemed a bit troubled, forcing a smile as he told me I could leave. Just before he left, he remembered to ask me, "Want to visit Mom and Dad at the columbarium? It's been a long time since I've seen them." "No need," I said, pulling out a wet wipe to clean my hands. "We're getting divorced. Besides, I doubt they'd want to see you either." Ji Yanli's expression darkened. I asked again when we were going to finalize the divorce. He dodged the question. It seems he's not going to agree easily. I'll have to find a way to force his hand. 12. The next day, Monday, I went to work bright and early. To my surprise, I was immediately chewed out. The new hire, clearly a connected individual, stood by, smirking. "I understand. They're trying to make room for this new hire, deliberately making things difficult for me." I sneered coldly. I'd just pull out the video I accidentally took of the boss's niece and the boss getting it on in his office. Then I'd happily collect my 2N severance package, which is basically hush money. I went home feeling great. As soon as I updated my resume, HR called me for an interview right away. It's actually Lynn's Jewelry, a major domestic jewelry group. I'm a little excited. Jewelry design has always been my dream, but the expensive tuition was clearly unrealistic for me at 18. But I didn't give up. I kept studying throughout college, auditing jewelry design courses for 4 years. After graduation, I couldn't find a job directly related to my major, so I ended up joining small companies to design accessories. But I kept designing jewelry in my spare time, building up a strong portfolio and creating many samples. It seems my hard work has paid off. After chatting with the HR, they mentioned the boss was very impressed with my portfolio and wanted to schedule an interview as soon as possible. I'm thrilled. My interview for tomorrow is confirmed. Just as I was about to organize my portfolio ideas and sample kit, Ji Yanli's mother called me. I answered, frowning. Her shrill voice pierced my ears. "Why did it take you so long to answer? Why haven't you sent this month's living expenses yet?" "Oh, so she's here for money." "Because she helped me out with living expenses and school back then. She's always felt I owe her family, demanding money from me every month. Even after I got married and Ji Yanli started his business and made money, she still insisted on squeezing living expenses out of me. Basically, she's just exploiting and manipulating me." She resented the financial burden I brought upon their family back then. She resented my father-in-law arguing with her because of me. She resented her son wanting to marry me, and most of all, she resented me for not giving them a grandchild. In my past life, I treated her like family. No matter how difficult or arrogant she was, I always tolerated it. Now, I scoff. It was her husband who showed me kindness, and her son who wronged me. Who does she think she is? I just flat out told them, "I'm broke. I got fired." "What?" Her shrill shriek could have shattered glass. "Fired? You good for nothing. You can't do anything right. I fed you and clothed you back then, and now you still have to rely on my son to support you." I held my phone further away. I got fired because of you, you know," my mother-in-law shrieked. "Because of me? What's that got to do with me?" I counted on my fingers. "Last month, you had a cold and wanted me to take you to the hospital. The week before last, you said your back hurt and asked me to take you for a massage. Last week, when you went on your trip, you insisted I take you to the airport. You wouldn't even let me call a cab for you. It's because you're so demanding that I kept taking time off, and that's why the company fired me." The mother-in-law choked for a moment, then yelled, "It's your duty to serve me. What's wrong with me asking you to do a few things? Calling a cab costs money, doesn't it? You spendthrift, you don't earn money, so how would you know how hard my son works for his? You ungrateful wretch. How dare you complain about me being too much? I never wanted to take you in back then. If only I'd known you'd be so heartless." I couldn't be bothered to listen to her rambling. "Alright, I'm hanging up. Wait, come over tomorrow to clean the house." I refused. "No, have your son hire a cleaner for you," she shrieked like a boiling kettle. "You lost your job and you still have the nerve to hire a cleaning lady. How can you be so wasteful? My son marrying you was the worst mistake ever." I was about to hang up, but then I remembered that Ji Yanli's documents were with her mother. She was wary of me, afraid I'd steal their household registration and property deeds to sell their house. I had to get them back, otherwise, that old woman would cause trouble again when it came time for the divorce. I cut her off impatiently. "Go on, scram, be home tomorrow morning." She was about to say something else, but I decisively hung up. 13. The next morning, I arrived at Ji Yanli's mother's house bright and early, ringing the doorbell insistently. Still groggy, she opened the door and immediately started scolding. "Who told you to come so early? Can't a person get some sleep in peace? You're so inconsiderate." I pursed my lips, "Deliberately keeping you awake. Besides, I have an interview today, and I can't afford to be late." I pushed past her and walked straight into the house. She followed me, nagging endlessly, bringing up the same old complaints about me not having children and urging me to try some folk remedies. I deliberately pushed the roaring vacuum cleaner towards her feet. She took a few steps back, annoyed by the noise, and left to get dressed and go out. I immediately turned off the vacuum and slipped into the room. Skillfully, I retrieved a key from the wardrobe and unlocked the drawer of the nightstand beside it. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for, a document folder containing Ji Yanli's household registration booklet, the property deed for our current house, and a few other certificates. As I was sifting through them, I found an insurance policy underneath. I opened it, and to my surprise, I was the insured. I froze. What kind of insurance is this? And why was my insurance policy secretly locked in a drawer with Ji Yanli's documents? I opened it up and saw in bold letters, "Accidental death insurance, with a maximum coverage of 2 million. My breath caught in my throat. When did I get this? How come I don't remember? I thought back carefully. It seems like 2 months ago, Ji Yanli mentioned wanting to get health and retirement insurance for the whole family, so we'd be covered. Then he just handed me a stack of policies to sign. I don't really pay attention to that stuff, so I just let him handle it. The policy terms are so complicated, I can't be bothered to read them. Just give it to me, and I'll sign. But he never told me he bought me a huge personal accident insurance policy. Why did he buy this for me? Why did he keep it from me? Why is my policy hidden here? What are they hiding? I felt a chill run through me, and I sat down, leaning against the wardrobe, thinking back. How exactly did that car accident happen in my previous life? I had a cold during that time and was in really bad shape. Ji Yanli and I were in a cold war. We hadn't spoken in a long time. That day, he specifically called me to say that all the medicine in the home first aid kit had expired, and he'd replaced them with a new batch, including some cold medicine. I didn't think much of it and just took them. After I took the medicine, he told me that since we had time today, we should go and finalize our divorce. He even added that traffic wasn't bad right now, so driving would be quick and more convenient than taking the subway. So I went downstairs to get my car. On the way, I started feeling drowsy, my eyelids getting heavier and heavier. While waiting at a red light, I scrolled through my phone, afraid I'd fall asleep, and found out I'd won the lottery. Even such huge news couldn't wake me up. I kept driving in a daze, and then, the accident happened. I remember they said it was entirely my fault, so, it wasn't them hitting me, it was me, driving while disoriented, who hit them. I clutched that insurance policy for dear life. After taking the medicine Ji Yanli bought, I became disoriented. He deliberately lured me into driving at that time. He wanted to kill me for that 2 million. I closed my eyes, my heart turning to ice. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold on to those few sheets of paper. This is my husband. This is the family I chose. I originally thought he just couldn't resist the temptation of other women and was having financial difficulties again. But I never imagined he was after my money and my life. We grew up together, over 20 years of friendship, and a human life. None of it was as valuable as those 2 million. My heart was filled with both sorrow and indignation, and tears streamed down my face. Suddenly, there was a sound from the door. Someone's opening the door. I instantly snapped awake, quickly stuffing the insurance policy into my bag and putting everything else back in its place. 14. I held my breath and listened. There were 2 people outside the door. It must be Ji Yanli and his mother. The door was ajar, and I faintly heard her voice. She's pregnant. You need to get rid of this wife of yours, fast, hurry, the baby won't wait. Ji Yanli cut her off in a low voice. Enough, not another word. My mind was reeling. So that's how it is. Jiang Yan is pregnant, so they're desperate to get rid of me. Instead of being discarded for nothing, I might as well trade my life for 2 million. Now that Ji Yanli knows I have 5 million, he'll naturally want to get his hands on that first. He's rich now, and his mom will finally get to hold her grandchild. Everyone's happy, and me, just an orphan. If I die, I die. No one cares. I bit down hard on my lip, my heart seething with hatred. How dare you? How can despicable, greedy, and vicious scumbags like you get everything you want, drinking others' blood, stepping on their bones, trampling on their dignity and lives? You're the ones who deserve to die. Ji Yanli is calling for me in the living room. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Nian Nian, he asked as he walked into the room, finding me wiping down the wardrobe. Why didn't you answer when I called? I dropped the rag, expressionless, and rubbed my hands. I'm tired. Ji Yanli gently took my hand. You've worked hard. From now on, we can just hire someone for this kind of thing. I gently pulled my hand away and said, I have another interview, so I'll be going now. He frowned. You really don't have to work so hard. I can take care of everything. I ignored him and walked straight out. I grabbed a bubble tea outside, which helped me calm down. The first thing I still need to sort out is the divorce. Ji Yanli is so desperate for money. It's definitely not for baby formula. He must be in trouble. Maybe there's an issue with his company. I don't want to get caught up in his mess, so I need to cut ties early. But now he's playing dead and refusing to divorce. I pursed my lips. All I have left to provoke him with is that lottery ticket. I'm going to talk to him tonight when I get back. But for now, I need to really focus on preparing for this interview. Most of my salary for the past few years has gone to my ex-wife, leaving me with almost nothing. Even though I just received the 2N severance package, it's barely a drop in the bucket. Being laid off and divorced, my financial future is now a major concern. And my future career development. Today's interview is crucial. 15. Lin's Jewelry Group occupies an entire impressive building. Its decor is understated yet tasteful, reflecting the owner's excellent discernment. After checking in, the secretary led me to the reception room. I never expected Lin Qingshi, the CEO of the group, to personally interview me. He was tall and reserved, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit. His entire demeanor, much like the building itself, exuded an understated elegance. The more I looked at him, the more familiar he seemed, as if I'd met him somewhere before, but I just couldn't for the life of me recall where. He sat down and began to ask questions. Surprisingly, our mindsets really clicked. The interview went incredibly smoothly. After our chat, he said he'd have HR discuss compensation with me. I thought that was it, and was about to stand up and say goodbye. Then he added, Hold on. I have something personal I'd like to discuss with you. Personal matters. I obediently stayed put, unable to fathom what personal business a big boss like him could possibly have with me. Lin Qingshi's expression, however, was a bit unnatural, as if he didn't know how to begin. He took a sip of water and said, Miss Shen, actually, this isn't the first time I've seen you. I've known you for a long time. 16. My mind went blank. When did we meet? He cleared his throat and looked at me intently. This might be a bit presumptuous to ask, but Miss Shen, have you been reborn? I stared at him, wide-eyed, as if struck by lightning. How did he know? This is insane. Could he also be? Lin Qingshi nodded. That's right. I'm also living my second life. I slumped back in my chair, rubbing my forehead with a wry smile. Oh my god, did you glitch out? Why is everyone getting a second chance at life? I asked him. Did you know me in your past life? Because I don't think I know you. Even though he looked familiar when we first met. I'm sure I don't know him. Lin Qingshi rubbed his nose. that's right, in my last life, you hit my car. I shot up into a sitting position, staring straight at him. Are you saying you're my victim? Lin Qingshi chuckled softly. That's right, Miss Perpetrator, long time no see. I was speechless with shock. Only one thought raced through my mind. I'm screwed. I just hit my boss. Lin Qingshi seemed to know what I was thinking and let out a little laugh. Don't worry, Miss Shin. The slate from our past lives has been wiped clean. You won't have to pay for it again in this one. I clasped my hands together and raised them to my forehead. Thank you, Mr. Lin, for your generosity. May good people live long and prosper. Lin Qingshi waved his hand. No problem at all. We looked at each other and couldn't help but burst out laughing. It felt like I'd been smiling ever since I met him. I've been miserable ever since I was reborn, I asked him. How badly were you hurt that time? He nodded. I'm fine, but you're not doing so well. I gave a wry smile. Not doing so well was an understatement. I was practically at death's door. I asked. You must have visited me, right? Is that how you recognized me? He looked at me silently for a few seconds. Then said, I only sustained minor injuries. I'll be up and about very soon. At the time, the traffic police ruled you were entirely at fault. You were unconscious in the ICU, and your mother-in-law was very unhappy with the outcome and kept making a fuss, so I paid some money to appease her. I visited you later, and I still regret it a bit. He chuckled. I should have given you more. You looked absolutely miserable. His voice was so gentle. I listened quietly. Feeling all the previous turbulent emotions smooth out, I laughed too. Good thing you didn't give me more. It wouldn't have done me any good anyway. He stopped smiling. I heard later. Your family signed the DNR. I nodded. The doctors said it's incurable. They're not really family anyway. Lin Qingshi's eyes were clear, filled with pity as he looked at me. Seeing his gaze, I lowered my head, feeling a bit lost. When I spoke again, my words were a jumble. It's really nothing. My parents passed away a long time ago. I'm an orphan, and no one would care if I died. If no one cares, then no one cares, I guess. Anyway, it's not that no one cares. He suddenly interrupted me. I looked at him, puzzled. He said, the moment I found out your family had given up on your treatment, I immediately came to see you. Everyone else is gone, but you're still here, you're still alive, still breathing. The 4 drip is still flowing into you. And all those machines monitoring your vitals are still running. I can see it in you. You want to live. You haven't given up on yourself. My eyes welled up. I remembered lying in that hospital bed, feeling utterly abandoned by the world. It was like falling endlessly through an abyss of darkness, the sheer loneliness, the despair, the terror of being consumed. Lin Qingshi had, at some point, sat down beside me, gently wiping away my tears with his thumb. Back then, I thought. What a strong girl. If they don't want you, I do. As long as you don't give up, I won't give up on you. What if you get better? What if a miracle happens? Even if there's no miracle, I'll be with you every step of the way. I closed my eyes, and my memories drifted back to my past life. Even during those muddled times, I wasn't entirely oblivious. Sometimes it's as if I see a shadow flitting across my vision. Sometimes it's as if I can hear whispers in my ear, but it's all too indistinct. So indistinct that I thought it was a dream, a hallucination, or perhaps my subconscious having a final flicker of activity. So, it was you all along. 17. I opened my eyes and looked at Lin Qingshi, a different kind of emotion already stirring within my gaze. His eyes were as gentle as water, and his voice was so low, as if he was afraid of startling me. Later. You probably stayed in the hospital for about a month. I was with you for that whole month. In the meantime, I'd like to help you find your family. If you recover, you can get in touch with them. I had someone investigate your family, and that included you. That's when I discovered you also design jewelry. I've looked through your portfolio many times. I really love it. I remember thinking, if you got better, I'd do whatever it took to poach you for my company, to be my chief designer. I burst out laughing. You're kidding. I'm not even a professional jewelry designer. How could I possibly be chief designer at a huge corporation like yours? Lin Qingshi looked at me, a smile in his eyes. I'm not kidding. I believe you'll become an excellent jewelry designer in the future. My heart swelled with emotion, gratitude, appreciation, and a host of other indescribable feelings that left me overwhelmed. I took his hand and said, thank you, Lin Qingshi. He squeezed my hand back, his palm broad and strong. Remember, he said, you have me for everything. I lowered my head, thought for a moment, and then gave him a brief summary of my current situation. I just omitted the part about the accidental death insurance policy. I didn't want to worry him too much. He just said I could come to him for anything I needed, and he'd support me. I felt a surge of power, fearless of anything. 18. After saying goodbye to Lin Qingshi, I went home. The moment I stepped inside, I heard a familiar woman's voice from the entryway, walking into the living room. I saw Ji Yanli standing by the sofa, looking at me with a somewhat flustered expression. A woman was sitting on the sofa. It was Jiang Yan. I scoffed. He just finished playing the good guy with me and couldn't wait to bring someone home. Talk about being impatient. Jiang Yan saw me and proudly lifted her head. Oh, Mrs. Ji is back. Please don't be angry, Mrs. Ji. It's not like I deliberately tried to intrude. It's just that Yan was so insistent. Your home is quite lovely. But this sofa is a bit small and not enough. What do you think, Mrs. Ji? I crossed my arms. You know, I think you should read more. Mastering a craft isn't used that way. What you're doing is called an uninvited takeover, colluding in evil, illicit affairs, and behaving worse than animals. Jiang Yan's face went pale. Ji Yanli grabbed her arm. Shut up. He forced a smile and told me, don't listen to her nonsense. Nian. She just came up here to get out of the rain. It was pouring outside just now, I said expressionlessly. Oh, of course, pregnant women shouldn't get wet. After all, Ji Yanli's face went pale, and he took a step back. Don't talk nonsense, she's not. Jiang Yan shot to her feet and declared haughtily, good, so you know, what right do you, a barren woman, have to speak here? If you know what's good for you, just divorce him quietly. I chuckled softly. Jiang Yan, sometimes I really do admire you. How did you manage to get your skin so thick? I continued walking forward as I spoke. And what made you think I wouldn't hit a pregnant woman? Jiang Yan's face changed, and she pointed at me, saying, you wouldn't dare touch me. She gritted her teeth, but involuntarily stepped back. Tell me, who gave you the guts to bark at me like that? I raised an eyebrow. Was it the man next to you, Jiang Yan? Her face pale, clutched Ji Yanli's arm. Yan, look at her. This shrew is trying to hit me again. Ji Yanli stepped forward, placing himself between us. His brows were furrowed, and he looked at me intently. Nian, I'll see her out, and we can talk about everything when I get back. With that, he ignored Jiang Yan's protests, forcefully pulled her into his arms, and led her out of the house. I scoffed coldly. Turning around, I saw a phone lying on the coffee table. It was Ji Yanli's. 19. I had used Ji Yanli's phone once a long time ago. I typed in the password, just on a whim, and it actually unlocked. A wave of relief washed over me, and I quickly started searching. As I kept looking, my expression grew increasingly grim. Ji Yanli apparently got hooked on online gambling 3 months ago and has already borrowed 5 million from various online lending platforms. No wonder he was so desperate for money. Loan sharks use incredibly ruthless methods to collect debts, not to mention issues like credit scores. The car accident in my previous life should be about a month away from now. He must have been cornered by loan sharks back then, so he threw me under the bus to settle some of his debts. Ji Yanli, oh Ji Yanli, how could you be so foolish? Of all things, why gambling? While silently cursing him for being so pathetic, I quickly pulled out my phone to snap pictures of his online gambling transaction records and debt collection messages. Just as I finished the last page, the front door clicked shut behind me. I quickly tucked away my phone. Ji Yanli returned, looking utterly exhausted. Spotting the phone on the coffee table, he slumped onto the couch. So, you know everything now, don't you? I didn't say a word. It's not like anyone would believe me if I said I hadn't seen it. He covered his face with one hand and said, his voice filled with pain, I owe a lot of money. Nian, please, help me. How can I help you? I have no money, I said coldly. You have a lottery ticket. He took his hand away and stared at me intently. You have a lottery ticket worth 5 million. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? He stared intently at me. You're back, aren't you? I know. You're so different now from how you used to be. You've come back. Filled with hatred for me. You hate me for not saving you back then. He talked to himself. But I couldn't save you. The doctor said you're a lost cause. I'm drowning in debt, with elderly parents and young kids to support. I can't save you. Jiang Yan's child. My mom was really pushing me in my past life, so I had no choice but to be with her. I came too late in this life. She was already taken by the time I got back. I can't let her abort it. That's my child, Ji Yanli cried, large tears streaming down his face. I know I've wronged you, but I'm out of options. Nyen Nyen, please help me. Once I've paid off my debts, we'll live a good life. I'm done with gambling. I'll make tons of money so you can live comfortably. As soon as Jiang Yan's baby is born, I'll give it to my mom to raise. Nothing will stand in our way, and my mom won't give you a hard time anymore. That bitch Jiang Yan, in her past life. She conned me out of all my money and ran off with someone else. There's no way I could ever love her. Nyen Nyen. Ji Yanli knelt before me, tears streaming down his face. I only love you. 20. I watched Ji Yanli coldly as he cried like a child, as if he were the most wronged person in the world. How ridiculous. I spoke. You can have the lottery ticket, but I want a divorce first. Once the divorce certificate is in hand, the lottery winnings are all yours. Ji Yanli paused. His bloodshot eyes fixed on me. Why do we have to divorce? I refuse to live with the person who tried to kill me, I said, enunciating each word clearly. The insurance policy, the cold medicine, you can't possibly claim you don't know what you did. He flinched, looking at me with an almost palpable fear. It was as if he'd forgotten, only to suddenly remember after I reminded him, and then be horrified by his own actions. I watched his lips tremble, his body shake. As he slowly slumped to the ground, after a long moment, he rasped, "The lottery ticket. Are you really going to give it to me?" I said coldly, "You don't have to believe me, if you have a choice." He didn't say another word. I added, "We're going to the Bureau of Civil Affairs first thing tomorrow morning." Leaving him alone in the living room, I went back to my room. I woke up feeling refreshed and invigorated. The thought of getting divorced today filled me with relief. As I left the room, I saw Ji Yanli still on the sofa, but he clearly made an effort. He wasn't the wreck he was yesterday. Neither of us spoke. We quietly went downstairs, got in the car, drove to the Civil Affairs Bureau, and processed the paperwork. The staff informed us that we'd receive our divorce certificate after the 30-day cooling-off period. After finishing the paperwork, I stood outside the Civil Affairs Bureau. Ji Yanli spoke his first words of the day, his voice hoarse. "Nyen Nyen, are you really leaving me?" "Yes, I'm leaving you. All those years we grew up together, the flutter of young love, the comfort of shared grief after losing a parent, I'm letting go of it all. I'm moving out tonight," I said, my voice flat. 21. After packing a few essentials, I checked into a hotel. The divorce proceedings are on hold for now. All that's left is to wait. I need to get my life in order quickly during this time. I soon received an offer from the Lin Group and started my new job. The new team really suits me. We work together seamlessly, and I'm growing incredibly fast, feeling fulfilled every single day. When Lin Qingshi found out I was staying in a hotel, he proactively offered me a place to live. The apartment is in a youth complex near my company, which makes commuting super convenient. I moved in without much hesitation. Even though we had just met, it felt like we'd known each other forever. I felt my heart completely open to him, a total and absolute trust. It was only after I moved in that I realized Lin Qingshi lived right across the hall from me. I always thought big bosses like him would live in fancy villas in the suburbs. He said he'd always lived in an apartment for convenience, to be closer to work. Yeah, well, I might have actually believed him if I hadn't taken time off work to go home and grab a USB drive, only to see movers hauling tons of stuff into the apartment directly opposite mine. Oh, how foolish. On the first weekend of the break, I asked Lin Qingshi to come with me to cancel that accident insurance policy. The moment he saw the accidental death policy, he understood instantly. He immediately grabbed my hand, holding it very, very tightly. The person, usually so gentle, exuded a sharp, almost fierce aura in an instant. His clear, gentle eyes locked onto mine, filled with heartache and lingering fear. I initiated the hug. He held me even tighter. "Nyen Nyen, I like you," he smiled. "You already knew that, didn't you?" I chuckled to myself. How could I not know? Those clear eyes couldn't hide a thing. "Just wait a little longer," I told him. "Once I've completely broken free from my past, we can truly be together. Then tell me first, do you like me?" He stubbornly insisted on an answer. How could I not? Lin Qingshi, who waited for a miracle for me. Lin Qingshi, who accompanied me to the very end. Lin Qingshi, who always saw eye to eye with me. Lin Qingshi, who believed I'd become a top jewelry designer. Lin Qingshi, who fell for me even before I knew him. You're my absolute favorite person in the whole wide world. 22. Days turned into weeks, and my turbulent life finally found its rhythm, becoming peaceful and fulfilling. If I hadn't run into Ji Yanli's mom and Jiang Yan at the supermarket with Lin Qingshi today, I would have almost forgotten these two troublesome people were still a part of my life. My ex-mother-in-law forcefully dragged Jiang Yan, who was visibly pregnant, over to me. Jiang Yan was clearly intimidated by me, and mindful of her pregnancy, she just glared at me, not daring to approach. Ji Yanli's mother, a seasoned pro, immediately launched into a tirade. "You shameless hussy, you ungrateful wretch. How dare you ask my son for a divorce, and with another man, no less. Our family worked so hard to raise you, and this is how you repay our kindness with such malice." Lin Qingshi frowned, about to speak, but I stopped him. "My boss, Mr. Lin, is a distinguished CEO. How could he possibly stoop to arguing with a shrew like that in the street? Of course, when there's work to be done, subordinates are there to do it." I fanned myself slowly, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Quite the big talk, old woman. Just because I ate at your house for a few days when I was 18, you think you raised me? Be careful. My parents might just pay you a visit in your dreams tonight to have a word or two. Besides, I've repaid you 100, even 1,000 times over for those few meals. It's truly audacious for a mother-in-law to exploit her daughter-in-law's salary. Your son's a good-for-nothing, letting his wife pay for everything. No wonder he couldn't keep her. Oh, and speaking of that, mother-in-law, it took getting divorced for me to realize how naive and narrow-minded I was when I was younger. Now that I've seen what's out there, every man is better than your son. Well, as they say, the beam above is crooked, so is the beam below. With a mother's genes like that, how good could the son possibly be? What a shame. Uncle G is such a good man, but he married the wrong woman, and his son's life has been completely ruined because of it." The tirade made the ex-mother-in-law furious, practically fuming, while Lin Qingshi listened, utterly dumbfounded. I quickly pulled Lin Qingshi and ran out, otherwise, getting entangled with that shrew would be endless. I vaguely heard her scolding Jiang Yan behind us. "Are you dead? Just standing there watching her curse at me. All you do is eat. My son works hard for his money, and you just squander it all. So you're pregnant. Big deal. Who hasn't given birth? Are you really that delicate?" Jiang Yan, not to be outdone, retorted, "Me being willing to bear your son's child is a blessing your G family has accumulated over 8 lifetimes. You old hag, say one more word and see if I don't make sure you never see your grandchild again." I scoffed, looking down. These two, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, are cut from the same cloth, equally selfish and greedy. Wouldn't putting them together just cause absolute chaos? Ji Yanli certainly got his work cut out for him. I ran into one of his subordinates recently, and they mentioned he's been under increasing pressure. Apparently, he even diverted project funds, which caused a major cash flow crisis. If they don't get more money in soon, the company's going to collapse. But none of that concerns me anymore. After giving that old hag a piece of my mind, I'm in a great mood, humming a little tune as I stroll down the street. Then, Lin Qingshi's somewhat resentful voice chimed in. "Nian Nian. Every man out there is better than your son. Does that every man include anyone besides me?" I burst out laughing and ran off, fanning myself. 30 days later, Ji Yanli and I finalized our divorce. I hadn't seen him in a month, and he looked much more haggard, radiating an air of exhaustion. I checked my reflection in the glass of the door. "Yeah, I'm doing great. My skin is rosy and glowing." Ji Yanli looked at me and said, "Nian Nian, we have the divorce certificate, that lottery ticket." I scoffed, pulled the lottery ticket from my wallet, and handed it to him. He took it, gave me a deep look, then turned and hurried away. He seems to be in a great hurry. It looks like his financial situation has gone from bad to worse. I sneered coldly. Now that I have the divorce certificate, I have no more reservations. From now on, I'll settle every score and avenge every wrong. I watched Ji Yanli's car speed past, then pulled out my phone and dialed a number. "Hello, is this the police station? I'd like to report something." Ji Yanli, ID number XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX, is involved in online gambling, with huge sums of money at stake. He's also taken out high-interest loans, and I suspect he's running a gambling platform. I'll send over the evidence shortly. Then I made a second call. "Hello, is this XX Online Lending Center?" Ji Yanli has been reported for online gambling, and his assets are being frozen. If you want to get your money back, you'd better go to his mother's house right now. The third call went to Lin Qingshi. "Come out, there's a show to watch." 24. By the time Lin Qingshi drove me to my ex-mother-in-law's house, the show had already begun. We found the best vantage point and watched a group of burly men storm into her house, smashing things and splashing paint, causing absolute chaos. My ex-mother-in-law wailed and screamed like a madwoman. "Stop it, get out of my house." There's no way my son would borrow from loan sharks, he's a big boss, call the police. Quick, call the police. This time, her tantrum was ignored, and she was even slapped a few times by the debt collectors. Seeing this, the neighbors didn't dare to open their doors. The whole neighborhood knows they borrowed from loan sharks and were chased right to their doorstep. My ex-mother-in-law's overflowing vanity is about to explode this time. I'm watching with great interest. Smash away, smash away. I wiped that coffee table. I washed that tea set. I changed the light bulb in that chandelier. Don't you just love bossing me around, humiliating me, and making things difficult for me? Today, I'm going to smash everything to pieces. I'll shatter your dignity, your arrogance, your malice. I'll smash all your hypocritical masks. I want to see you bruised and battered, snot and tears streaming, wailing like a ghost, 100 times worse than what I went through. I'm so happy. Every villain meets their match. I was even happier. All the pain inflicted on you today, the blows, the humiliation, it all stems from your son, the one you were so proud of. I won't lay a hand on you, but everything you hold dear, I'm going to destroy it right before your eyes. What else? Oh, and your most cherished possession, your grandson. I smirked. Will you even have grandchildren? Will that woman still bear your grandson? Just as I feared, when loan sharks came knocking, Jiang Yan learned Ji Yanli owed millions. She was devastated and quickly decided, this child absolutely cannot be born. As soon as the debt collectors left, she tried to slip away, but Ji Yanli's mother grabbed her arm. Ah, you old hag, let go of me, that hurts like hell. Where do you think you're going? Get back here and clean the house. This isn't my home, clean your own damn pigsty. What did you just say, you little bitch? You're out of your mind. My son's in trouble and you think you can just run off? Huh, if it weren't for my grandchild in your belly, I would have dealt with you already. Ugh, a broke loser like him. He thinks he's worthy of me having his baby. I'm going to get rid of it today. You want a grandchild? Go dig through the hospital trash cans. What did you say? You're going to abort my grandchild? You wicked woman, if you dare touch my grandchild, I'll fight you to the death. What are you doing? You old hag, let go of me. Ah, as they struggled, they both tumbled down the stairs. A pool of blood spread beneath Jiang Yan. Lin Qingshi hissed, that's brutal. I nodded cheerfully. The grandson she doted on so much. She essentially ruined him with her own hands. My phone rang. I answered it, and Ji Yanli's hysterical shouting came through. Shen Yanji. The lottery ticket you gave me is fake. 25. I frowned, moving the phone away from my ear. What are you talking about? What fake lottery ticket? Ji Yanli was furious. Don't play dumb. You gave me a fake lottery ticket to cash in, and now the police have arrested me for lottery fraud. Get down to the police station and explain yourself. I looked innocent. I have no idea what you're talking about. I did buy a lottery ticket, but it's right here with me. I don't know anything about the ticket you're referring to. I didn't give you anything, so don't you dare accuse me. Shen Yanji, you goddamn. Before he could finish, the public security officers took him away, stating he was being administratively detained for suspected forgery of valuable securities and involvement in online gambling. Oh, I said indifferently, I've already divorced him. You should notify his mother. I gave them my ex-mother-in-law's number and hung up. A moment later, I saw the old woman who had been beating Jiang Yan answer a call, then abandon Jiang Yan, who was wailing on the ground, and run off. She didn't even bother to call an ambulance for Jiang Yan, who was still lying there. I scoffed, like mother, like daughter. Indeed, when their own interests are at stake, they couldn't care less about other people's lives. Lin Qingshi smirked. You were right in your last self-reflection. You really were young and naive back then. With such a narrow perspective, to consider someone like that family. I pinched his cheek. Oh, so now you're not asking who else is out there, besides you, among everyone. He let me twist his face into odd shapes and said, it doesn't matter who else there is, or if I'm even one of them. I'm just glad you're able to move on, even without me. I'm happy for you. My mischievous hand paused, and my eyes welled up. Lin Qingshi, you idiot. Who else could it be but you? No one else could possess such unwavering devotion. 26. That day, before Lin Qingshi and I left, we conveniently called 911 and had them take Jiang Yan away. Not long after, Ji Yanli was sentenced to 1 year and 3 months in prison for gambling. His company's assets were frozen, the company dissolved, leaving behind a mountain of debt. Loan sharks constantly harassed his mother for repayment, making her life miserable. Eventually, the police intervened, and those aggressive debt collectors stopped their harassment. due to the intricate connections between those online lending platforms and gambling sites, and the inherent illegality of usurious loans themselves. The court ultimately waived the exorbitant interest, allowing Ji Yanli to repay the loan at standard bank rates, but he had lost everything, in the end. The court seized all his properties and cars to be auctioned off to cover his debts. His mother, devastated, still had to move out of their upscale community and into a low-income housing unit. She was utterly miserable, having been accustomed for years to a life of luxury, throwing her weight around, and getting her way with tantrums. Without a regular allowance, there was no one to call and clean up after her anymore. She had no choice but to take on odd jobs, struggling to make ends meet. Now her health was truly failing, but there was no one to take her to the hospital. Later, Jiang Yan somehow got her address and showed up at her door with a few burly men. Crying, she cursed the old woman, calling her evil and a murderer for pushing her down the stairs. She had miscarried and damaged her uterus, making it difficult for her to have children in the future. Jiang Yan fiercely demanded compensation, but she had nothing left to give. She was so worn down that she didn't even have the energy to put up a fight anymore. Jiang Yan unleashed a torrent of abuse, and before leaving, threatened to sue her for intentional assault. Good, then mother and son can keep each other company in prison. None of this has anything to do with me, her ex-wife, anymore. I looked up. The son was just right, good for travel, good for visiting relatives. Hey, Lin Qingshi, come with me to see my parents, 27, at the cemetery. Lin Qingshi looked at the photos in the two small niches and politely greeted them. Hello, uncle and auntie, I'm Lin Qingshi. I'm 30 years old this year. My parents are both abroad, and my family has some assets. I'm 183 centimeters tall and reasonably good-looking. My financial situation is decent, and I have a clean record when it comes to relationships. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I hope you'll like me. His expression was so earnest, I couldn't bring myself to laugh at him. I took his hand and said, Mom, Dad, I brought Lin Qingshi to see you. I put everything from the past behind me. Lin Qingshi is wonderful, and I really like him. You don't need to worry about me anymore. I'm going to be very happy. Lin Qingshi secretly scratched my palm. Are you making us official in front of your parents? I squinted, smiling. That's right, boyfriend. Congrats on the new gig. Lin Qingshi instantly beamed, grinning from ear to ear. Thanks to Mom and Dad's blessings, I finally have a proper title. Don't worry, Mom and Dad. I'll take good care of Nian Nian and never give her a chance to leave me. I watched, speechless, as he quickly changed his tune and started spouting nonsense to my parents. Lin Qingshi, I never knew you were such a rascal. He looked shocked. Why are you calling me by my full name? How rude. I'm already on duty. Don't I deserve a special pet name? I stifled a laugh. Alright, little Lin, Lin Qingshi. After I finished laughing, I composed myself and went to find the columbarium administrator. After I showed the relevant documents, the administrator opened my mother's niche. I reached inside and pulled out a piece of paper from behind the urn. It's that lottery ticket worth 5 million. Lin Qingshi's eyes widened. You sly dog, you actually hid it here. I was a little smug. Of course, my mom always held on to my New Year's money when I was a kid. She's super trustworthy and never once pocketed my cash. Of course, if I won the lottery, I'd give the money to my mom to keep it safe. That time, when Ji Yanli and I came to the cemetery, I snuck away to the columbarium while he was on the phone and hid the lottery ticket here. He wanted to visit my parents then, but I told him no. He'd never imagine I came here by myself and did all this. Later, I made a fake lottery ticket to force him into a divorce, lured him to cash it in so he'd get caught, and then reported him for online gambling. In his past life, he took mine. In this one, I've ruined his. What goes around comes around. 28. Lin Qingshi accompanied me to the lottery center to claim the prize. After taxes, I'm left with 4 million. Just like that, I'm a rich woman. This is the first time in 2 lifetimes I've ever felt what it's like to be wealthy. How wonderful. No wonder everyone loves money. I bought a joint burial plot for my parents and will be interring their ashes there on an auspicious date. The remaining money is neither a lot nor a little. After a lot of thought, I told Lin Qingshi I wanted to study abroad. He was very supportive, telling me to go for it and that he'd wait for me to come back. I went to Florence to study jewelry design. 3 years later, I returned. I proposed to Lin Qingshi with a diamond ring I had personally designed and polished. He smiled and said yes. Now, it's no longer about someone giving me a home. We'll build a home together. The end. Story 2. I was reborn the moment my foster brother was drugged with an aphrodisiac. This time, instead of foolishly offering my virginity, I summoned the scholarship student he'd been pining for. In my past life, I loved him madly and became his antidote. After that night of passion, I got pregnant. He married me under family pressure. On our wedding day, that impoverished student jumped into the sea and ended her life. He claimed he didn't blame me, urging me to rest during pregnancy while attending to my every need around the clock. Yet the very day I gave birth, he pushed us both from the hospital rooftop, shattering mother and child upon impact. In my final moments, I heard his maniacal laughter. If you hadn't shamelessly crawled into my bed and gotten pregnant with that bastard child, would Lian have been driven to suicide? You and that abomination both belong in hell. My soul hovered in the air, only to discover with bitter fury that the scholarship student's death had been faked. 1. Where's Lian? Has she arrived? Did you call her? I can't take this anymore. Mo Zicheng is my foster brother, now under the influence of drugs. His eyes were bloodshot, nostrils flaring with ragged breaths. He'd torn his own clothes to shreds, revealing his muscular physique, racked by the drug's torment. My foster brother resembled a beast ready to maul its prey. In my past life, I couldn't bear to see him suffer like this. I'd also secretly investigated that scholarship student Zhou Lian. Her innocence was all an act, woven from lies, fearing my foster brother would be deceived. And after pining for him for 10 years, I steeled myself and took the initiative to undress before him. No, you're not Lian. We can't. My adoptive brother protested with words, but his body betrayed his true desires. Amid his roars and my tears, I lost the most precious thing a maiden possesses. After a night of madness, I found myself with child, under pressure from our godparents. Mo Zicheng was forced to marry me. On the wedding day, Zhou Lian jumped into the sea and took her own life. They never recovered her body. Only her shoes and a blood-written suicide note were found by the bridge. Without Mo Zicheng, my life is empty. There's no reason left to live. Mo Zicheng claimed it wasn't my fault, telling me not to blame myself. Zhou Lian's suicide was her own foolish choice. No one else is to blame. He cared for me tenderly, staying by my side 24/7 during my labor. Yet on the very day I gave birth, he heartlessly pushed me and our child from the 39th floor. As I fell, I heard Mo Zicheng's venomous snarl through the rushing wind. If you hadn't shamelessly crawled into my bed and conceived that bastard child, would Lian have died in despair? Mirai, your death alone won't suffice. I'll send you and that abomination straight to hell together. My child and I met a gruesome end, yet in my spectral state, I discovered Zhou Lian had somehow returned. Turns out her suicide leap was staged. She just found a place to hide. Mo Zicheng showed no remorse, cradling Zhou Lian in tearful joy. He simultaneously plotted to dispose of our bodies without a trace. Thank fate I got a second chance, this lifetime. I refused to be cannon fodder for anyone's cause. My silence and inaction only fueled Mo Zicheng's lust. Suddenly gritting his teeth, he lunged at me and pinned me to the bed, tearing at my clothes while playing the hypocrite. I'm only doing this because I'm forced to. This isn't love. Don't you dare tell Lian. No condom. Remember to take the morning after pill. My foster brother's mouth was all over me. I foolishly loved him for 10 years. Being intimate with him was my secret coming-of-age fantasy at 18, but now, with him whispering sweet nothings, I feel nothing but the sickening dread of a serpent's coils. Turns out in my past life, even if I hadn't offered myself, he'd have forced me to be his antidote anyway, all because I was foolish and weak. He could just zip up and walk away without taking any responsibility. Consumed by rage, I drove my knee upward with brutal force. My foster brother howled in pain, the lustful crimson fading slightly from his bloodshot eyes. Mirai, how dare you reject me? He demanded, both shocked and furious. Zicheng, you love Zhou Lian. You mustn't betray her, not physically, not emotionally. I won't be the secret stand-in who ruins your relationship. I know it's agonizing, but hang in there, you won't die from this. Before Mo Zicheng could react, I'd already dashed out of the guest house and locked the door from outside. I called Zhou Lian. My adoptive brother trapped inside wailed and thrashed about, even throwing himself against the walls. I remained utterly unmoved. Through the peephole, I saw he'd beaten himself bloody. Later he even knelt inside, begging me to take pity and give myself to him just once. But my heart remained cold as iron. Showing him mercy would be cruelty to myself. The distance was considerable, and Zhou Lian had to hurry all the way, arriving in a fluster only after 40 minutes, as I opened the door for her. I offered a well-meaning warning, you're in for a rough time, hope you can tough it out. 2. I'm telling the truth. Mo Zicheng worked out regularly, but lost his sanity under the influence of drugs. He only cared about his own pleasure with women, showing no tenderness whatsoever, clawing, thrusting, biting, like a wild beast. Last time, he kept at me for over an hour, leaving me battered and bruised. I could barely walk properly for days. This time, he'd been holding back even longer. No wonder when he finally let loose, it was even more intense. Sure enough, even from hundreds of meters away, you could hear Zhou Lianlian's blood-curdling screams from the guest house. Ah, that hurts, be gentler, Mr. M.O. I'm still delicate, ah. 2 hours later, the guest house door swung open, a drenched Mo Zicheng rushed out frantically, carrying Zhou Lianlian who was rolling her eyes. Call 120, Lianlian passed out. The ambulance rushed Zhou Lianlian to ER, turns out her adoptive brother caused a ruptured ovarian corpus luteum. The next day, her godparents arrived at the hospital. Their faces were grim, everything, from arranging the vacation at the homestay to secretly drugging Mo Zicheng, was all the godparents' idea. Their intention was to set us up. They all adored me and wanted me to marry into the Mo family. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. They ruined my life in the past. But I bear no grudge against them. My biological parents died in an accident when I was very young, and my adoptive parents have raised me all these years. This ended up working in Zhou Lianlian's favor, leaving the godparents understandably disappointed. When godmother heard I was the one who called Zhou Lianlian over, her face was a picture of exasperated disappointment. Millet, are you out of your mind? Haven't you always had feelings for Zicheng? How could you let that Zhou Lianlian waltz in and take advantage? It's not about being snobbish or judging by wealth. That Zhou Lianlian is clearly scheming, always putting on this phony act. She's downright no good. Their voices grew louder, and Zhou Lianlian, who was receiving in 4 drip in the hospital room, began sobbing pitifully. Mr. M.O., your parents don't approve of me, just leave me here. Don't worry about what happens to me. Sobs, my family is poor, I'm not good enough for you. I could never compare to Miss Me, your childhood sweetheart. You two belong together. Last night was my choice. You don't owe me anything, Mr. M.O. It's my own fault for loving you so much when I was born beneath your station. Sobs. Her tears successfully ignited Mo Zicheng's fury. Mo Zicheng stormed out of the hospital room. Mom, Dad, stop making things worse. I'll take responsibility for Lianlian. I'm going to marry her. I'm pursuing spiritual love. I'm looking for a soulmate. Instead of some clingy little shadow following me around all day. Mom, Dad, if you keep being prejudiced against Lianlian, I'll elope with her. It's 2025 already. Are we still doing arranged marriages? How ridiculous. Inside, Zhou Lianlian's sobs grew louder as her godparents stormed out in anger. My stepbrother finally turned his head, looking down at me with condescension. From now on, Lianlian is your sister-in-law. You will treat her with proper respect and won't stir up trouble in front of our parents. It's precisely because of your constant gossiping that Mom and Dad are prejudiced against Lianlian. I know you've always had this fantasy about me, worshipping me like some god, begging to marry me, but it's never happening between us. Get over it. He looked at my waist-length hair with a scornful smile. Back in high school, you shamelessly wrote in your essay, when my hair grows past my waist, will Brother Zicheng marry me? But this was always your wishful thinking. The moment I saw Lianlian shivering in the cold wind delivering food in her thin clothes, I knew she was my soulmate. 3. Hearing such words used to break my heart. I can't understand how a decade-long childhood friendship with Mo Zicheng could lose to Zhou Lianlian's theatrical performance, but now, I feel completely numb about it. Brother Zicheng, I wish you both happiness. You won't be on my mind anymore, otherwise. Why would I have called Zhou Lianlian last night, when you were completely out of control on drugs? If I hadn't fought back with everything I had, I'd be the one hooked up to N4 in there right now. Last night you got on your knees begging me to sleep with you, and I still refused. Isn't that proof enough of my resolve? I'm completely done with you. As I brought up last night's madness and disgraceful behavior, Mo Zicheng's handsome face twisted with embarrassment and chagrin. He suddenly flew into a rage. Mirai, how dare you reject me last night? Don't you care if I explode and die? Of course I know your rejection was fake. You're playing hard to get and acting petty. You're being so reckless with my safety. It's downright childish. Was breaking up with Lianlian really your condition for sleeping with me? This is emotional blackmail. Unlike Lianlian, she gives everything unconditionally when I'm in danger. No demands, no regrets even if she gets hurt. That's the difference between you two, and why I chose her over you. I remained calm despite hearing such heart-wrenching words. Zicheng, if you'd slept with me last night, you wouldn't have taken responsibility anyway, right? In that case, I won't make pointless sacrifices, hurting myself while tarnishing your pure love. Take good care of Zhou Lianlian. Once she recovers, do it a few more times. If she gets pregnant, even your godparents won't object anymore. I gave Mo Zicheng my most earnest advice. Even if Zhou Lianlian were a pit of fire, I'd watch coldly as Mo Zicheng threw himself into the flames. Having been reborn once, I've awakened to the truth. My own life is the only one that matters. Other people's fates are none of my concern. Is that really how you feel? Have you truly given up on me? Good. At least you know your place. Just like you said, even if I'd slept with you last night, I'd have taken what I wanted without commitment. My family raised you for over a decade. This is your debt to repay. Mo Zicheng's face twisted in shock as he spat these vicious, self-serving words. Don't worry, I won't give you any more free rides. With that, I walked out of the hospital and randomly picked a hair salon on the street. I'd like a short haircut. Huh, miss, your hair is so beautiful, must have taken years to grow. Are you really sure about this? The hairstylist double-checked with me repeatedly, letting go. Whether it's my hair or a man, I can walk away without looking back. 4. Zhou Lianlian was discharged from the hospital a week later and was taken home by Mo Zicheng. The moment he stepped inside, Mo Zicheng finally noticed my sleek, ear-length bob. He froze in shock, even forgetting to change his shoes. Instead, he stormed over and roughly grabbed my wrist, demanding answers. You cut your hair. Who gave you permission? Did I say you could cut your hair, but you promised to wait for my proposal? He caught himself mid-sentence, realizing he'd lost composure, and abruptly fell silent. Zhou Lianlian's face twisted with jealousy before she suddenly clutched her stomach, crying ow, in pain. Mr. Mo, I've got terrible cramps, my period's late this month, I might be pregnant. Mo Zicheng immediately shifted all his attention to Zhou Lianlian's belly, no longer fussing over my short hair. The examination confirmed Zhou Lianlian was indeed pregnant. Mo Zicheng vowed to marry Zhou Lianlian and take responsibility for the child she carried. After several heated arguments and seeing my genuine detachment, my godparents finally consented to the marriage. Mo Zicheng threw himself into wedding preparations with gusto. Vowing to make Zhou Lianlian the most beautiful bride in the world, at dinner, Zhou Lianlian brazenly took the seat reserved for the lady of the house. Mom, Dad, after I marry into this family and have children, this house will be too small for us. She shot me a challenging look. Mirai isn't even blood related to this family. Isn't it inappropriate for her to keep overstaying her welcome like this? I'm worried about what people might say behind our backs, so they're trying to kick me out. Godmother slammed her chopsticks down with a sharp clatter. If you think it's too crowded here, then move out. I raised Malay. Even if she doesn't become my daughter-in-law, she's still like a daughter to me. Who are you to judge? Zhou Lianlian immediately started playing the victim, shedding crocodile tears. Wah, I was being delusional. My child and I will always be outsiders here. She was throwing a tantrum. It made everyone at the table extremely uncomfortable. I was about to leave anyway. I'm a medical student and have applied to work as a battlefield medic overseas, saving lives on the front lines. Godfather, Godmother, Lianlian Zhou is right. I really shouldn't stay here any longer. Thank you for raising me. I'll come visit when I can. With that, I stood up and left the Mo residence. Godfather lit a cigarette while Godmother sighed. They knew my mind was made up, and staying would only make things awkward, so they didn't try to stop me. I thought Mo Zicheng would be relieved by my withdrawal. Never expected him to chase after me. His face was a portrait of impatience. Mirai, I'm done with your feigned indifference. Do you really think I'd believe you've moved on? 10 years of love has carved me into your soul. You'll never let go, so I suggest you drop this runaway stunt. It won't manipulate my parents into forcing me to marry you. Lianlian and I are getting married because she's pregnant. Don't pull any stunts that might upset my wife and unborn child. I care deeply about my son. Paternal pride radiated from his face, yet all I could remember was his cruelty in our past life, how he'd personally hurled my flesh and blood from the heights. My heart grew even colder. Mo Zicheng, I'm about to leave. What more do you want from me? Should I get on my knees and beg? Or would you only be satisfied if I crashed your wedding? I was clearly speaking in anger. Yet Mo Zicheng took it seriously. Eloping, so that's what you really wanted all along? Absolutely not. Here's some money. go abroad for a year and come back after the baby's born. Mo Zicheng actually transferred the money to me via mobile as he spoke. Ask me for more money if you run short, but remember, you only come back when I say so. I didn't turn down the money, he owed me this. I took it without a shred of guilt. What he didn't know was that I'd never return, on Mo Zicheng's wedding day. He arrived at the hotel with a motorcade to fetch his bride. Zhou Lianlian had no close relatives except for her elder brother Zhou who, with their hometown being too distant, the siblings treated the hotel as the bride's family home. Coincidentally, my international flight departed on that very same day. Mo Zicheng stood there in his groom's attire, watching me get into the taxi. Words lingered on his lips, but ultimately went unspoken. The wedding procession headed south as my taxi drove north. Like parallel lines destined never to meet again. 5. Mo Zicheng and Zhou Lianlian held a grand wedding ceremony. During the vows, he was moved to tears. I didn't just marry Lianlian, I married love itself. What captivated him most about Zhou Lianlian was her wounded fawn aura of innocent vulnerability. Just look at that gaze full of admiration and reverence. They practically worshipped him as their savior. Zhou Lianlian was Cinderella, and he was the Prince Charming who pulled her out of the mud. So sweet and romantic, it felt like a fairy tale come to life. In comparison, his relationship with Millet was rather mundane. Millet arrived at the Mo family before she turned 10, they grew up together. Call it childhood sweethearts if you're being kind, or say we grew sick of each other if you're being blunt. Millet clung to him like a shadow, always at his heels. During his teenage years, he constantly faced teasing from his buddies. Mo Zicheng, your child bride is here. It was that awkward age when boys and girls would draw boundary lines on shared desks to keep their distance. For boys back then, being too close to girls wasn't a badge of honor, it was downright embarrassing. Mo Zicheng began deliberately avoiding Millet. He found her utterly annoying. By college, guys no longer thought rejecting girls made them cool. Instead, they'd drool over glamorous co-eds like starving dogs. But Millie's constant visits, delivering food, clothes, and parental messages, changed that. Soon, no girl dared approach him anymore. Everyone assumed he was already taken. This only annoyed Mo Zicheng even more. That little shadow tagging along made his youth feel so much less vibrant and exciting. But meeting Zhou Lianlian turned his life into a romantic drama. What also drew him to Zhou Lianlian was her mountain girl innocence, utterly pure, untouched by worldly cynicism or material desires. That night's passion left crimson plum blossoms blooming across the bedsheets. Preoccupied by these chaotic thoughts, Mo Zicheng drifted through the entire wedding ceremony in a daze. Zicheng, it's time to exchange rings, Zhou Lianlian whispered with a hint of grievance in her eyes, snapping Mo Zicheng out of his daze. Right, the ring exchange. He produced a diamond ring the size of a pigeon's egg and slid it onto Zhou Lianlian's finger beneath her white lace glove. Zhou Lianlian was beside herself with joy. The dream had finally come true. Sharing her excitement was her elder brother Zhou who, seated prominently in the VIP section, Zhou whose beady eyes burned with greed and lust. This was the perfect wedding for the siblings. Everything went smoothly without a hitch, absolutely flawless. Yet throughout the ceremony, Mo Zicheng couldn't shake off this peculiar feeling. Something about this wedding just didn't feel right. What exactly feels off about this? It wasn't until he escorted his bride out of the hotel toward their car that the realization hit him. Everything went too smoothly. Could it be that Millet, who'd been obsessively in love with him, actually didn't show up to cause trouble, didn't come to crash the wedding? Was she really that obedient? Just boarded the plane and left the country, without turning back at the airport or making a scene at the ceremony. Mo Zicheng should count himself lucky. This was exactly the outcome he'd hoped for. Yet when it truly came to pass, an inexplicable emptiness took hold. 6. Though they'd already been intimate before, but the wedding night marked their official consummation as husband and wife. Mo Zicheng arranged their bridal suite at an upscale resort in the suburbs. It should have been a passionate night by all accounts, but Zhou Lianlian's recent pregnancy made her too fragile for any exertion. Naturally, nothing could happen between them. Mo Zicheng grew visibly restless, pacing the room like a caged tiger in a zoo, mistaking his agitation for burning desire. Zhou Lianlian gave a sultry smile and spoke up. Honey, don't rush. While some things are off limits, there are other ways that won't affect the baby. She crouched down, flashing an innocent yet tantalizing gaze. Darling, I promise to make it even more intoxicating. Any grown man or woman would recognize what that gesture implied. Unfortunately, Mo Zicheng's restlessness wasn't due to unfulfilled desires this time, it was because he hadn't received Malay's safety confirmation text. In the past, whether taking flights or just hailing a late-night ride, Malay would always text him immediately upon arriving safely. This really got on his nerves. But over a dozen hours have passed, the plane should have landed long ago, yet Miley remains completely silent. This silence feels deeply unsettling to Mo Zicheng. Faced with his new wife's bold advances, Mo Zicheng felt not excitement but growing suspicion. Lian, how do you know about these things? I thought you were innocent. Zhou Lian froze, then immediately flushed crimson while explaining herself. I specifically learned it online before marriage. I'm afraid if I get pregnant and can't satisfy you, you might stray. They say a woman's pregnancy is the most vulnerable time for a marriage. Though Zhou Lian's explanation made perfect sense, Mo Zicheng still felt unsettled. You go to sleep first, I'm going out for a smoke. Mo Zicheng left the bedroom and stood on the balcony, cigarette in one hand while dialing Malay's number with the other. The number you have dialed is not in service. Mo Zicheng's brows furrowed instantly, a grave realization suddenly struck him. Mila had always told him her travel destinations before. This time, he had absolutely no clue where Miley had gone. The world is vast, and a single person seems so insignificant. Finding someone is like searching for a needle in a haystack. You changed your number. How were you supposed to get my permission to come back? Still as willful as ever, Mo Zicheng desperately wanted to call his parents to ask about Malay's whereabouts. She would have told them where she was going, but pride and restraint kept him from asking in the end. Let's see how long you can keep this up. Mo Zicheng was absolutely certain that Mila would reach out to him within a week. Little did he know, Zhou Lian had been eavesdropping by the balcony door the whole time he was muttering to himself. Her gentle expression had vanished, replaced by ruthless determination. She pulled out her phone and sent Zhou a text message. Tiger, Mo Zicheng seems to be having second thoughts. Looks like we'll need to move the plan up. After a while, Zhou replied with a text message. Got it. But that dumbass didn't lay a finger on you, did he? Didn't disturb our son's peace in the womb. 3 months passed, and Zhou Lian's belly grew noticeably larger. There's still no word from Kamalai. Complete radio silence. Mo Zicheng finally couldn't sit still any longer and casually asked his mother, Mom, where did Malay go? Hasn't she contacted you all this time? That girl's having too much fun. Doesn't she know how dangerous it is out there? I'll give her a proper scolding when she gets back. His critical tone masked his true feelings, yet Mo's mother wore an equally bewildered expression. Sigh, Mila only said she'd be gone a long time before leaving, mentioned the poor transportation and unreliable communications there, told us not to worry. I thought you knew, but turns out you were completely in the dark. This poor girl is heartbroken. Mo Zicheng listened to his mother's words with such emptiness that he didn't even notice his fingers getting burned by the cigarette. Married life didn't turn out to be as comfortable as he'd imagined. Knowing Zhou Lian had a strained relationship with her parents, he bought a villa after marriage so they could live separately. What was supposed to be their newlywed paradise turned sour when Zhou Lian insisted her elder brother Zhou move in. She claimed pregnancy nightmares made her feel safe only with her brother around. Mo Zicheng resisted, but Zhou Lian's tantrums eventually wore him down. Before marriage, Zhou Lian always boasted about being the perfect homemaker, adept at all household chores and capable of whipping up a feast, yet after tying the knot, she lived like pampered royalty. Forget cooking or cleaning. She wouldn't even lift a finger to right a toppled oil bottle. But I'm pregnant now, my senses are heightened. And the smell of oil makes me nauseous. That may be true, but she's got quite the appetite. Every day she'd order lavish takeout from 5-star hotels, dining face to face with Zhou. The place was littered with dirty dishes and trash, waiting for Mo Zicheng to clean up after work. Mo Zicheng couldn't lose his temper, yet worried constant takeout would harm the baby's health, so they specifically hired a live-in maid for the household. Her duties included cleaning and cooking, but shockingly, Zhou sneaked into the maid's room at night with ill intentions. The maid fought back desperately, preventing Zhou from succeeding. Mo Zicheng was furious, calling Zhou worse than an animal. Zhou Lian was even angrier. How dare they call the nanny a homewrecker? Speak, did you deliberately seduce my brother, you shameless slut? I'll tear you apart. The vulgar language, like that of a fishwife, left Mo Zicheng utterly dumbfounded. He felt his wife had become a complete stranger at that moment. The nanny left in tears, choosing not to report it to protect her reputation. Mo Zicheng tried to kick Zhou Hu out, which infuriated him. Kick me out, if you mess with my sister, you'd better take care of me too, or what? I'll make Lian abort the baby and end your precious Mo family line. Faced with such a scoundrel, the refined Mo Zicheng had no choice but to yield. He found himself increasingly reluctant to return home. Mo Zicheng had read online that women change after marriage. Is this really the case? What if I'd married Miley? The moment this thought surfaced, Mo Zicheng shook his head vehemently. He shouldn't be thinking this way. No regrets allowed, especially mustn't let Miley know he's having second thoughts, because that stubborn girl still hasn't reached out to me. 8. I've got no mental bandwidth for Mo Zicheng and Zhou Lianlian's messy drama. I saved lives on the battlefield, becoming an honorable combat medic. The battlefield reeked of gunpowder and death. Doctors embody life and hope, amidst raging warfare. I pulled innocent civilians from rubble, shell craters, and mass graves, and those innocent children. I was just a surgeon, yet ended up delivering several newborns on the battlefield. Watching those new lives come into the world, I wept. They were tears of release. Because I remembered the tragic death of my flesh and blood in my past life. Though I've been reborn for a long time, it wasn't until this moment that I truly found liberation and made peace with myself. So this is what happiness means, not forcing yourself to chase after someone who doesn't love you. I even found my true love on the battlefield. His name is Ren Jia, a war correspondent. Through his lens, he brought the brutality of war to global attention, advocating for peace and raising awareness about refugees. Though our professions differ, both are equally noble and meaningful. I've treated his wounds before. He risked his life to rescue me when I was kidnapped by militants. That's how our love story began, though brief. Going through life and death trials made our bond unshakable. 9. Mo Zicheng was growing increasingly irritated. The household accounts didn't add up, and over 10 million was missing from his account. The investigation revealed that Zhou Lianlian had been embezzling funds. All the money had been transferred by Zhou Lianlian to Zhou Hu's account. Mo Zicheng was both shocked and furious. He always thought Zhou Lianlian wasn't materialistic. She didn't even ask for a dowry when they got married. That's why he trusted her with his account passwords. Little did he know, she refused the dowry because a few $100,000 was chump change to her. Lianlian, I'm so disappointed in you. I thought you didn't care about money. How could you become so mercenary? Tell Zhou Hu to return the money immediately, or I'll call the police. Faced with his accusations, Zhou Lianlian shed her usual meekness and became downright domineering. Disappointed? What's there to be disappointed about? Only fools don't care about money. I'm not stupid. We're married. I have every right to handle our shared assets. What's wrong with giving money to my brother? We've relied on each other our whole lives. Supporting him is only natural. Call the police. Go ahead and humiliate yourself if you want. Not a penny to my name. Take my life if you dare. Zhou Lianlian thrust out her heavily rounded belly in defiance. That makes 2 lives you'd be taking. Mo Zicheng realized with sorrow that the woman he once thought pure as wild mountain blossoms now appeared utterly repulsive. Yet that once annoying shadow in my memories now seems so vividly alive. At this moment, his heart turned to ashes toward Zhou Lianlian. Let's get divorced. Keep the child if you want. I'll pay child support. If you get an abortion, I'll compensate you for your loss. Mo Zicheng was about to say more when a furious roar interrupted him. You bastard, how dare you file for divorce? Then excruciating pain exploded in his head, and Mo Zicheng knew no more. 10. Mo Zicheng had no idea how long he'd been unconscious. When he came to, he found himself tied to a pillar in the living room. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, and disturbing sounds were coming from inside. To his shock, Zhou Hu and Zhou Lianlian were engaged in an intimate act. Hey, what's the rush? Be careful with my stomach. Hee hee, you'll be fine up there. Humph, that's your son in there. Come at me if you dare risk your family line. Come here, Lianlian, I've missed you so much. Mo Zicheng stood thunderstruck. The affair between Zhou Lianlian and Zhou Hu is disgusting enough. Wait, even the child is Zhou Hu's, so I've been raising another man's child. Aren't they supposed to be siblings? Beast, worse than an animal. Mo Zicheng cursed furiously as the shameless couple emerged, thoroughly satisfied after their escapade. Ugh, Zhou Lianlian spat contemptuously on Mo Zicheng's face. Who the hell are you cursing? Did you actually think I loved you? I was after your money, you idiot. Zhou Hu let out a sinister chuckle. Well, brother-in-law, since you've found out, I'm afraid we'll have to send you on your final journey. Once you're dead, all this wealth will be ours. So this wicked woman was plotting to murder her own husband. Mo Zicheng was overwhelmed with regret, but it was already too late. Zhou Lianlian and Zhou Hu turned on the gas inside the house before fleeing. They planned to stage an accident to kill Mo Zicheng and reap the benefits. Mo Zicheng knew his death was coming. In his final moments, he longed to see Malay one last time. He wanted to say I'm sorry, I just want to say I love you, but it seems he'll never get the chance. Boom, after the violent explosion, Mo Zicheng was plunged into endless darkness. 11. Mo Zicheng survived with critical injuries and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Upon learning Mo Zicheng wasn't dead, the despicable couple fled in panic, but justice has long arms. They were apprehended nonetheless. The interrogation revealed that Zhou Lianlian and Zhou Hu, despite sharing the same surname, were actually unrelated, not siblings at all. They were a couple who'd held a traditional wedding banquet in the countryside. They just never legally registered their marriage. After moving to the city, they began running a marriage scam together. They had Zhou Lianlian play the innocent to seduce wealthy men, then murder them for their money, to make the act convincing. Zhou Lianlian even had her hymen surgically restored 3 times, so Mo Zicheng wasn't their first victim. This demonic couple already had 2 murders under their belt. They were all sentenced to death. Zhou Lianlian, the pregnant woman, wouldn't have faced execution, but Zhou Hu caused her miscarriage. Without the child's protection, she was condemned to die. Though vengeance was served, Mo Zicheng remained consumed by sorrow. Because he missed Miley so terribly. Where has Miley gone? Does she know I regret it now? Does she know I've cut all ties with Zhou Lianlian? Did you know I got hurt? If she knew, she'd come running back to me immediately. 12. Mo Zicheng was discharged from the hospital. His once handsome face was now covered in scars, twisted into a terrifying grimace. Now stripped of his former pride and restraint, he desperately searched everywhere for Malay's traces. Dignity cast aside, he went to every friend of Malay's, familiar or not, pleading with them through tears. Do you have Malay? Do you know where she went? Have you got her contact details? Give them to me. Please tell Malay I regret everything. I want her back. I miss her. I can't live without her. I love her. But half a year passed with still no word from Malay. If it weren't for the several money transfers she'd sent to her godparents through the bank, we'd have thought she was dead. Mila still hadn't contacted Mo Zicheng. And he was going out of his mind. Just as Mo Zicheng was about to file a missing person report at the police station, he finally caught sight of Mila. It was on the TV news. The World Health Organization honored a group of battlefield medics. His eyes instantly locked onto that graceful figure. Tears began streaming down uncontrollably. Darling, I've finally found you. 13. The day I landed. A visibly exhausted Mo Zicheng stood at the arrival's gate holding flowers. As I emerged, Mo Zicheng pushed through the crowd and dropped to his knees with a thud. Mirai, will you marry me? I was wrong before. I shouldn't have let that vile woman manipulate me into hurting you so badly, but I truly regret it. After everything we've been through, I've realized you're the only woman worth loving. Can you give me a chance to make things right? I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, loving and caring for you forever. And I'll never hurt or betray you again. You've loved me for so long, you'll forgive me, won't you? He spoke with such heartfelt sincerity that he even moved himself to tears, hot tears streaming down his face. Yet I remained completely unmoved. Belated affection is cheaper than weeds. I'll never forget how my flesh and blood met their tragic end at his hands in our past life. He's a wolf. Anyone who gets close to him gets hurt. Mo Zicheng. We can never go back to how things were. I did love you once. But that was the biggest mistake I ever made. I'm so grateful I got the chance to right that wrong. Move aside. This is a public space. Rejected by me. Mo Zicheng broke down in tears without caring about his dignity. Annoyed and embarrassed, I quickened my pace. Malay, you belong to me. I won't let you get away. I'll make you mine, have my way with you, then take full responsibility. He suddenly went wild, clutching me while covering me with feverish kisses. Right before hundreds of onlookers, he shamelessly tore at my clothes. It was like reliving that drugged-out night all over again, but he was even more unhinged than that night. That night I stood alone. But this time I had my knight in shining armor. Renjia had returned with me, only lagging behind to collect our luggage. He charged forward, knocked Mo Zicheng down with one punch, and shielded me protectively. All of me my wife. Mo Zicheng sat on the ground. Blood still smeared at the corner of his mouth, utterly dumbstruck. Let me formally introduce Renjia, my husband. We got married overseas. I showed him the wedding ring on my finger, small, nowhere near as dazzling as a pigeon's egg. But I knew this was the true symbol of love. On the day Ren Jia and I held our belated wedding ceremony back home, Mo Zicheng jumped off a building. The end. Story 2. The third year of marriage to my childhood sweetheart, I stumbled upon a post he'd written years ago. In that post, he wrote about being forced apart from his true love and reluctantly marrying the girl next door, his childhood friend, and that girl happened to be me. The obstacles standing between the male and female leads in a tragic love story. 1. The farce unfolded when I went to the company to find Zhou Mu. The moment the elevator doors opened, shouts mingled with the sounds of physical blows. It was Zhou Mu's mother's voice. "Zhou Mu is already married, why did you come back? Your mother stole Zhou Mu's father, and now you're back to steal my son, you shameless bitch." It was the first time I'd ever seen Aunt Song, who'd always been the picture of grace and composure, in such a hysterical state. Zhou Mu shielded the person in his arms with desperate determination, as if protecting some priceless treasure. I opened my mouth to call out to him, "Zhou." Someone suddenly shoved me, my arm slammed into the table corner, cutting off my words with a pained cry, "Ah." Zhou Mu turned to look at me, quickly pushing away the person in his arms as if about to come help, but the next instant, he saw Aunt Song casually grab a potted succulent. Without hesitation, he spun around and shielded that girl again. The flower pot landed squarely on his head. The moment blood began dripping from Zhou Mu's head, the surrounding noise erupted instantly. I heard Aunt Song calling his name with heartache, "Xiao Mu." The girl in his arms asked with a trembling voice, "Are you okay?" "Amu," then came Zhou Mu's whisper, soft as a sigh, "As long as you're alright, too." The farce ended with Zhou Mu being knocked unconscious and hospitalized. Before leaving, he held my hand and finally just murmured softly, "Xiao Jin." Aunt Song said she'd explain everything at home, urging me to visit Zhou Mu at the hospital first. Evening had already fallen. When I arrived, Zhou Mu's friend Qingji was standing outside the hospital room. The moment he saw me, his lips parted to speak. But I clamped down on his wrist like a vice. A sharp gasp sealed his lips. The hospital door stood ajar. I heard it. A woman's coquettish voice came from inside. "Just take one bite. I learned this especially for you." Zhou Mu lowered his gaze with a soft sigh. "Vivi, you don't have to." Before she could finish speaking, the young girl's eyes were already glistening with tears, utterly heartbreaking. Zhou Mu fell silent and obediently swallowed the porridge she'd scooped for him. I didn't miss the fleeting pain that crossed his face. "Ouch, that's hot. Vivi doesn't seem like the nurturing type." Qingji tugged at my sleeve with his other hand, his eyes drooping pitifully. I released my grip on his wrist, where an angry red mark had already formed. "I'm sorry. It's alright, sis. I mean, she's Brother Mu's." "I know." He froze for a moment, words still hanging on his lips. The voices in the ward suddenly grew louder. Chen Wei seemed to be crying. "Because I can't stop worrying about you. You got hurt protecting me. Don't I even have the right to care about you? Amu. But we loved each other so much." The rustle of fabric filled the room as Zhou Mu seemed to pull her into an embrace. The voices in the hospital room dropped again to lovers' whispers. "Sis-in-law." Qingji called my name again, his voice trembling slightly. "Stop crying." As I touched my cheeks, hot tears came streaming down. How embarrassing. I lowered my head, hiding my tearful eyes. "I'll take my leave first. I had a whirlwind marriage with Zhou Mu 3 years ago. Back then, I had just returned home after completing my studies, and my parents threw a welcome dinner for me. Zhou Mu came to pick me up in his car. The ambient music playing in the car did little to ease the awkwardness between us after 3 years apart. And there was that nervous flutter of being alone with someone I'd secretly loved for years. We made small talk along the way. Just as we were about to get out, the seatbelt suddenly got stuck. I fumbled in panic. Zhou Mu chuckled and leaned over to release it for me. A faint sandalwood scent lingered around me. My body froze in place. When Zhou Mu looked up and saw me, he reached out to ruffle my hair. "After all these years apart, why so distant? Didn't you say you wanted to marry me when we were kids?" Zhou Mu rarely makes jokes like this. My face burned crimson, my heart pounding wildly against my ribs. This surreal feeling lingered throughout the banquet. Holding flowers, he confessed to me in front of both our parents, beneath the dazzling array of lights. The young man I've cherished in my heart for over a decade has sparkling eyes, his gentle smile crinkling at the corners. "I've finally waited for your return, Xiao Jin." Countless dreams I had as a girl, just like that, they came true. Back then I thought, I must be the happiest person in the whole wide world. Married life was quite sweet. Zhou Mu was exceptionally attentive. 5. Brown sugar tea during my period, constant care when I was ill, and thoughtful attention in daily life. All I could think was how wonderfully he treated me. I should treat him better too. Only later did I realize that gentle temperament was something he painstakingly developed for Chen Wei. Had my friend not stumbled upon and shared that post with me, I might remain in the dark for the rest of my life. I've fallen for my father's mistress's daughter. What should I do? I know I shouldn't, but I can't help how I feel. 6. She's adorable, like a child, always clinging to me, acting spoiled, saying she wants to be with me forever. Mom found out about us and doesn't approve of our relationship. My mom threatened to kill herself to force W and me to break up. I don't want to hurt my mother, but I can't bear to see W heartbroken either. Are you out of your mind? OP, how heartbroken your mother must be. Stand with OP, why separate when you're in love? My mom pushed me too far. She held a knife to me and demanded, choose between W or your own mother. At that moment, it suddenly hit me how much older Mom looked. I can't let my mother down. What about W then? Didn't you promise to stay with her forever? Don't break Mom's heart again. W and I broke up. My mom's still worried. She keeps pushing me to get married soon. The girl next door I grew up with is coming back from studying abroad. Her mom often says she really likes me. My mom told me to hurry up and get married. I proposed to my childhood sweetheart. OP, what are you doing? Another person you've wronged. OP, W, what should we do? She's the one you've wronged the most. Don't be, sobbing. This thread ultimately concluded with the blogger's response to a question. He said he got married today. He'll be someone else's husband soon. Someone asked him, what about W? Do you still love him? He said, yes. The timestamp of that response was 10:15 a.m. on July 14th, 20XX. That was the day of my wedding with Zhou Mu, 10 in the morning. I sat in the room, dressed in exquisite bridal attire with flawless makeup. My best friend stood by the door, waiting to block the groom's entrance. At that moment, I was thinking, resource group pushpin WeChat, QQ number 179-732-8031. I'm about to marry the man I've loved for 10 years. How wonderful. Zhou Mu didn't come back until very late that night. By the time I finished reading the post, tears were streaming down my face. The air in the room suddenly felt thin and suffocating. I can't catch my breath. I need some fresh air in the garden downstairs, amidst the swaying tree shadows. That distant figure looked so familiar. 7. Zhou Mu stood under the streetlight as Chen Wei looked up at him, their bodies nearly touching as they spoke. Wei, we can't keep doing this. I'm already married. She's such a wonderful person. I can't let her down. The amber glow of streetlights fell on Chen Wei's face, softening her features. She looked on the verge of tears, yet put on a brave face, fighting to keep them at bay. I know, it's because I can't forget you that I wanted to come back. Just being able to see you every day at your company is more than enough for me. I shouldn't have been so greedy. AMU, I'll keep myself in check. The last sentence came out completely garbled. The moment Chen Wei's tears fell, I saw the unmistakable pain in Zhou Mu's eyes with crystal clarity. Before he even realized it, he had already pulled Chen Wei into his arms to comfort her. So familiar, because when I cried, he'd held me like this many times before, gently wiping away my tears before comforting me. Zhou Mu always sends me gifts after every heartache, just like a child. I'd always say, you don't have to next time. He would just hold me, smiling tenderly. I'd do anything to see Xiao Jin happy. The wind howled in my ears, yet I heard with painful clarity the sound of my heart breaking. That day, from barely restraining the urge to confront Zhou Mu immediately, to breaking down in solitary tears, then finally, calmly choosing a different path. Let them be in love. Since when does life work that way? I left the hospital but didn't go home. Instead, I drove to my parents' place. Mom paused for a second when she opened the door, then broke into a smile. What brings you home all of a sudden? I forced a faint smile. Just missed you guys. Mom glanced behind me. Where's Zhou Mu? Didn't he come with you? He's hospitalized. Hospitalized. What happened? Just bumped my head. The doctor said it's nothing serious. I left out the part about Aunt Song. Why aren't you keeping him company? Mom flashed a knowing smile. 8. She's always been perceptive. She clearly saw through my crush on Zhou Mu but played dumb, while subtly promoting me to him. Xiao Jin, after all these years of secret pining, you've finally gotten your wish. Make sure to hold on to this happiness tight. Not at all. Far from getting what I wanted, I just found out too. What I thought was luck. Zhou Mu only married her as a consolation prize when he couldn't wed his true love. I've adored Zhou Mu since childhood. My parents were always busy, whenever Zhou Mu found me waiting alone at the doorstep after school, he'd always take me home with him, help me with homework or watch anime with me. My parents never came home that night, no matter how late it got. I fell asleep in Zhou Mu's room while reading manga, only to be jolted awake by thunder rumbling outside and lightning splitting the sky. I'd had a nightmare, and the thunder startled me all over again, wailing for mom and dad. Zhou Mu rushed in from the next room, losing a slipper in his haste. Xiao Jin, with tears and snot smeared across my face. Zhou Mu couldn't help but laugh. He grabbed a wet wipe and gently cleaned my face while comforting me. It's okay now, it's okay, it was just a dream. But the more he tried to soothe me, the harder my tears fell. Exhausted from crying, I drifted into a hazy sleep. My grip on Zhou Mu's hand never loosened. All I remember is him standing by the bed, promising to stay with me. Will you stay with me forever? I will. Will you stay with me forever and ever? I will. Deep down I always knew words spoken so lightly can't be trusted. If only emotions could be controlled, I wouldn't have loved him so desperately all these years. I stopped visiting Zhou Mu at the hospital. When he asked, I simply said I'd gone back to my parents' place. Owner's exclusive ID pushpin WeChat, Q*Q number 179-732-8031. Zhou Mu's head injury wasn't serious. He was discharged from the hospital within days. It happened to be New Year's Day when he drove over to take me home for dinner. Standing by the doorway, slender as bamboo, her eyes lit up with a smile when she saw me, gentle, just like the old days. Xiao Jin, you look absolutely lovely today. Zhou Mu never held back his words of praise for me. I used to feel embarrassed, but hearing it more often actually made me grow more confident, and the more I grew to like him, I lowered my gaze to avoid his eyes. Let's go. 9. Zhou Mu froze for a moment. Then he politely said goodbye to my parents. Once Aunt Song calmed down, she returned to being the gentle elder we knew. She didn't want to talk about what happened that day, and I pretended to have forgotten it too. Her face lit up when she saw me, taking my hand in hers. Xiao Jin, I bought you some necklaces and bracelets. Come try them on. Let the men handle the kitchen work. Zhou Mu hung my coat on the rack and smiled at me. You keep mom company. The jewelry Aunt Song bought sparkled brilliantly, almost dazzling under the light. She helped me try on each piece, praising every one. It suits you perfectly. By the time we finished trying the last piece, dinner was ready. The dinner table was filled with warmth and joy. It felt like being coated in a layer of grease. Everyone's hiding something. The instant the knock came at the door, I beat Zhou Mu to it and opened the door. The unexpected visitor standing at the door, it was Chen Wei. Chen Wei seemed to be in a hurry, with beads of sweat glistening at her temples. In the moment I stood frozen. Zhou Mu had already approached. Xiao Jin, Zhou Mu. The instant Chen Wei spotted Zhou Mu behind me, her tears began to fall. Where have you been? You left the hospital without telling me. Do you have any idea how worried I was? I turned to look at Zhou Mu. He maintained a composed facade, clearing his throat lightly. Zhou Mu, I said, meeting his gaze. Who is she? Zhou Mu remained silent. Chen Wei pushed me aside and rushed toward him in a panic. The in-laws at the dining table also spotted Chen Wei. I saw Aunt Song's expression change instantly. You, Uncle Zhou sitting beside her suddenly gripped her shoulder. This is my friend's daughter. Used to be good friends with Xiao Mu. 10. Is that so? I smiled. Zhou Mu and I grew up together since childhood. I don't think I've met her before. Ah, we met during those years you were abroad. I smiled without calling out his lie. Since you're here, you might as well join us for dinner. Uncle Zhou added another bowl of rice and pulled up a chair for Chen Wei. What should have been a family reunion was unexpectedly interrupted by an outsider. Chen Wei sat beside Zhou Mu, right in front of Auntie Song. She kept serving him food with intimate gestures. Just as she was about to place another chopstickful of mushrooms into Zhou Mu's bowl, I intercepted. He doesn't like this. I looked at Chen Wei with a calm expression, casually taking the carrot she'd originally picked for Zhou Mu. He's allergic to carrots. Chen Wei's smile froze instantly. The atmosphere instantly froze. It's fine. Zhou Mu suddenly spoke up, breaking the awkward silence, as if to show he truly didn't mind. He even served Wei Chen a piece of poached shrimp, what was mentioned in that post, W's favorite food. Chen Wei's embarrassment vanished, replaced by delight. You still remember my favorite. Zhou Mu suddenly seemed to realize something and served me a portion too. Xiao Jin, try this, it's delicious. But I don't care for it. I prefer salt and pepper seasoning, braised dishes, and barbecue. The only thing I dislike is plain boiled seafood. I watched Chen Wei dip the shrimp in sauce and take a blissful bite. her face glowing with happiness. It suddenly hit me, those who are favored always act with fearless confidence, just like Zhou Mu treats Jin Wei, just like how I felt about Zhou Mu. The food in my mouth suddenly lost all flavor, and even the sight of other dishes turned my stomach. I set down my chopsticks. I've got other plans tonight, I should head out. Where to? Need a ride? Zhou Mu asked. I looked at him, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jin Wei's hand slowly covering his under the table. No need. I stood up and left without another word. I made a call and asked my friend out for drinks. Halfway through, with bleary eyes, Zhao Jing propped her chin and asked me, "What's wrong? Anything bothering you lately?" I kept silent, downing one glass after another. A thriving career, fair complexion and striking looks, married to your longtime crush, life couldn't be more harmonious, Xiao Jin. With all these blessings, if not the ultimate winner in life, you're certainly heaven's favorite. What on earth could still trouble you? I can't bring myself to say it. Zhao Jing didn't press further, just kept me company drinking in silence. Backup account pushpin WeChat. QQ179732*8031. I was hugging the toilet, vomiting twice, completely blackout drunk. Oblivious to everything, Zhao Jing dialed Zhou Mu's number. When Zhou Mu came to pick me up at the bar, I stood frozen like a statue under the street lamp by the entrance, but the moment I saw him, tears started rolling down my cheeks. Zhou Mu paused for a second before fishing tissues from his pocket. I didn't pull away when he wiped my tears, just kept staring at him blankly. You look just like someone I adore. Zhou Mu chuckled. Oh, what's their name, Zhou Mu? His face lit up like a night, blooming serious in full splendor. My head spun as I looked at him. The urge to pour my heart out was overwhelming. 11. You know what? I've liked him forever, like forever and ever. Just didn't have the courage to tell him. How long is a long time? What year is it now? Zhou Mu gave a number. I counted on my fingers, pondered and recalculated over and over until it finally made sense. 10 years, the overhead light cast down, rendering Zhou Mu's tousled hair almost translucent, that beautiful face froze in stunned silence. Don't you believe me? He shook his head, fuming. I grabbed my phone to unlock my private photo album. The alcohol was still buzzing in my system. I fumbled through several typos before finally accessing it. The security question I'd set years ago. The person I like is, those silly teenage years. I typed 2 letters. Zhou Mu's youthful face appeared before us. Take a look at this. I tapped on one. I found this on the school's official website. The photo captured Zhou Mu sprinting the final stretch of the marathon. I zoomed in on the photo and spotted myself being jostled in the crowd. He joined the marathon, and I wanted to bring him water, but the crowd was overwhelming. I couldn't push through. In the end, I never handed him the water, just watched him take a bottle from another girl. That moment actually hit me pretty hard. Luckily, I later stumbled upon this photo while browsing the official website, though I never got to give her the water. At least we shared the frame. I chuckled, remembering how I'd foolishly clutched that bottle all day without letting go. It's like buying your favorite cake with pure joy, only to find it squished when you got home. Felt down all day, but seeing this photo on the official site instantly recharged me. At least I was captured in the moment of his victory. And this one, I found this in my mom's photo album. Zhou Mu came to celebrate my 10th birthday with me. We held hands and performed for the adults. Zhou Mu wore a little suit while I had on a pretty puffy dress, standing side by side. They looked every bit the perfect couple. Later I used this photo as my moment's cover. All my friends said I looked adorable when they saw it. I keep wondering, what would happen if he sees it someday? Should I lie and say it's because the photo is adorable, or just confess outright, because I wanted you to notice, because I like you? But he didn't. He never noticed. Resource group pushpin V Red Heart. QQ number 1797328031. A decade feels like an eternity. These trivial memories I've held on to for so long remain crystal clear. There's no end to the stories, until my throat ran dry from talking. No words could ever fully capture my decade-long secret love. When the story ended, the man before me suddenly pulled me into his embrace. Zhou Mu's arms radiated warmth. Through the fabric, I felt not just his body heat, but the wild pounding of his heart and his unsteady emotions. He held me so tight I could barely breathe, yet his hands trembled slightly. I love you. His warm breath grazed my ear, carrying a husky undertone. Xiao Jin, I love you too. Zhou Mu held me in his arms. The tear stains on my face had long dried, and the cold wind sobered me up considerably. I looked up at the blinding white light overhead, for what felt like an eternity. Finally, I whispered, liar. Zhou Mu, you damn liar, woke up with a splitting headache. Zhou Mu appeared at the bedroom door upon hearing the noise. Xiao Jin, I made you hangover soup. Rubbing my temples, I agreed. When I sat down at the table after washing up, breakfast and hangover soup were already laid out. I downed the soup in one gulp, only then noticing the candy he'd placed beside it. Xiao Jin, Zhou Mu came downstairs, smiling at me with his tie in hand. I paused for a moment before taking it and tying it for him. Seizing the chance, Zhou Mu leaned down to plant a kiss on my forehead, murmuring sweetly in my ear, "Wait for me to come back." Just like when we first got married, before I could snap out of my daze, Zhou Mu had already left. Not long after he left, an unknown number called. I answered the call. The voice on the other end sounded familiar. It's Chen Wei. She asked to meet me. On my way there, I imagined countless ways Chen Wei might start the conversation, like some dramatic novel scene where she triumphantly declares, "He only loves me," like arrogantly demanding that I withdraw on my own, but none of that happened. Chen Wei arrived earlier than me, greeted me when we met, and then told me her story with Zhou Mu. Zhou Mu and I were together for 2 years, and he was always good to me. I've always known who he really was. I envied him as a child. He had such a perfect family with parents who adored him. My mother never cared about me until she met Uncle Zhou. Sometimes when he visited, he'd bring me little presents, but I knew it was only because he loved my mother. Until I got together with Zhou Mu. He takes care of people, worries whether I'm eating well or sleeping soundly, tells me it's okay, he's here, and helps me solve every problem. He felt like a gift from heaven after witnessing all those years I'd been neglected. 12. I thought we'd be together forever too, until his mother found out. She threatened suicide to force Zhou Mu to leave me. Chen Wei paused, her voice suddenly trembling with emotion. He gave up on me. Her gaze shifted to me, her voice suddenly thick with sorrow. Please give him back to me. I'm begging you. I truly love him, I really do. Her tears fell heavily onto the table. She was clearly sobbing uncontrollably, yet she still carried the proud air of someone cherished. I remained silent, pressing a hand to her chest. She realized the ache wasn't as sharp as before. Why don't you tell Zhou Mu? Make him get divorced, make him choose you. Chen Wei froze, tears trembling on her lashes like dewdrops refusing to fall. I don't want to put him in a difficult position, I chuckled, gazing at her with calm eyes. Do you truly love Zhou Mu? Absolutely, her reply was resolute. I smiled wryly. Then tell me, what's Zhou Mu's favorite food? Chen Wei froze, her lips parting and closing soundlessly. If they truly loved each other so deeply, why would one waver endlessly while the other remained completely oblivious? Perhaps my laughter was too unrestrained. Chen Wei flushed with a mix of embarrassment and anger, her previously delicate expression hardening instantly. Song Jin, if you insist on this, don't blame me for what happens next. He'll never get over me. 13. Chen Wei is a woman of action. Zhou Mu came home late after work. He carried that same peachy scent I'd noticed on Chen Wei earlier. I curled up on the couch watching anime when Zhou Mu changed shoes and came over to hug me. I dodged his embrace. The show happened to reach the scene where the female lead confessed, but the male lead hesitated, prompting her to demand whether he truly loved her. I looked at Zhou Mu. His slightly lowered eyes held only my reflection. Just like when I was a kid after school, he'd stay with me doing homework and watching anime. Zhou Mu, I said earnestly, I've always believed that if I ever marry, it must be with someone I truly love. Zhou Mu chuckled, bending down to scoop me up from the couch. He gazed up at me with reverent eyes. Xiao Jin, I've already married the love of my life. I lowered my gaze. Backup account pushpin WeChat, QQ number 179 by 732 by 8031, lying. 14. Chen Wei never left my world. Despite Zhou Mu's efforts to maintain a facade of calm, she kept pushing the boundaries. Zhou Mu's phone rang in the dead of night. I was jolted awake from my drowsy state. When I opened my eyes, I saw Zhou Mu hurriedly getting dressed. Noticing I was awake, he looked apologetic. Sorry Xiao Jin. I didn't mean to wake you. There's an emergency I need to attend to. Go back to sleep. I nodded, watching wide-eyed from bed as he disappeared through the doorway. The door downstairs slammed shut. Wide awake now. Truth is, I heard it, Chen Wei's voice, whimpering weakly on the other end. She sobbed about someone knocking on her door and windows. I'm so scared, AMU. Could you come keep me company? Alone like this, I'm terrified someone might try to. Even a child knows that. Call the police when in trouble. Yet she chose to seek another woman's husband. 15. On the day the weather forecast predicted this year's first snowfall, Zhou Mu and I had originally planned to have dinner together. When I went to his office at noon, he seemed hesitant to speak. Zhou. An old friend of mine is returning from abroad today. We haven't seen each other in years. I might not be able to make it tonight. No worries. Zhou smiled, but I could see what looked like relief flash across his face. Then I'll pick you up tonight. Where are you guys heading? I gave him an address. Zhou nodded. The restaurant I went to was at the central square downtown. Our table was by the floor-to-ceiling windows, with a pianist playing in the lobby, the notes flowing like a babbling brook. Though we hadn't seen each other for years, Chungzi and I picked up right where we left off. We chatted nonstop throughout the meal. Snow began to fall as evening approached. Flake after flake drifted down. Chungzi exclaimed with delighted surprise. Just returned home and already catching the first snow. I must be the luckiest. I smiled and glanced across the square. The downtown streets were bustling with pedestrians, including several couples walking hand in hand. Amid the swirling snowflakes, a bold girl leaned in to kiss her boyfriend. I was watching, then suddenly froze. The restaurant's heating was turned up high, yet I felt like I'd been plunged into an ice cellar, my whole body rigid. What's wrong? Chungzi followed my gaze. When she spotted the kissing couple, understanding dawned on her face as she broke into a smile. They say couples who kiss during the first snowfall will stay happy forever. Xiaoqin, missing your husband. Thanks for keeping me company during such a romantic moment. I spaced out for a while, watching the intimate couple finally part ways, walking hand in hand down the snow-covered street. After a long pause, I finally said, "That's my husband." 16. Zhou texted me while I was on the plane. I only saw it after landing. My phone is flooded with missed calls and unread messages. Doing the math, it must be the middle of the night back home. It's always been like this. He gets worried when he can't reach me. I applied for this business trip last minute, put in the request right after saying goodbye to Chungzi, didn't even have time to pack properly, won't be back for at least 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. I replied to Zhou to let him know I'm traveling for work. The reply came instantly, good to hear, come back soon. Chenwei was even quicker than I'd expected. The message came through almost the next day. It was a mirror selfie of her wrapped in a towel. It was our home bathroom. I instantly hit save. She immediately took it back. Save your breath. I won't file for divorce. Try your luck with Zhou instead. 17. By the time the project wrapped up, over half a month had passed. My daily routine gradually returned to normal. Zhou came to pick me up at the airport when I returned home. After just a couple weeks apart, an invisible wall seemed to have grown between us. He kept talking the whole way while I only responded half-heartedly. My eyes remained glued to the phone screen as I replied to my colleague, Xiaoqin, is everything alright? You seem different lately. I was about to speak when his phone suddenly rang. He must have accidentally hit the speaker button. The moment the call connected, Chenwei's voice came through crystal clear in the confined space of the car, calling Zhou's name in a drunken, slurred voice. Xiaomu, I think I drank too much at the bar. Could you come pick me up? My head spinning and my legs feel weak. People keep staring at me. When I looked up, I saw Zhou watching me through the rearview mirror. His expression was tense. Sorry, go ahead. I cut off his unspoken refusal. Our eyes met in the mirror, my expression calm. Xiaoqin, she's. Zhou rushed to explain. I know, your friend's daughter. I opened the car door and stepped out. I need to go back to the office. You go pick her up. Zhou returned sooner than I expected. I'd just finished moving everything from the master bedroom to the guest room. Xiaoqin, I'll come right back after seeing her off. What are you? After putting down the last item in my hands, I finally answered him, let's sleep in separate rooms. I've been having trouble sleeping lately. Maybe we should sleep apart from now on. 18. My workload has increased, and I'm always coming home late. Zhou would wait for me, keeping the lights on until I got home. The moment I stepped inside, he'd ask, hungry? Want some midnight snacks? Owner's exclusive contact pushpin WeChat, QQ #797328003. I shook my head, walked straight past him into the room, didn't even stop to chat. I could feel Zhou Moluo's gaze burning into my back, full of confusion and inexplicable hurt, but I couldn't spare another thought about him and Chenwei. This state of affairs lasted until Zhou and I returned from the banquet. I mingled through the crowd with my arm linked in his. Thanks to Zhou, I connected with several potential major clients. Backup account pushpin WeChat, Q*Q number 179732*8031. Zhou introduced me by saying, this is my beloved. Others would compliment how well matched we were, and I'd just lean lightly against Zhou's shoulder with a shy smile. You two look so deeply in love. I just smiled. The moment we got in the car after the banquet, I immediately let go of Zhou Mu's hand. He looked momentarily confused. His arm still frozen in the position where I'd been holding it, he froze in place, looking at me. Xiao Jin, his voice trailed off when he saw my calm, indifferent expression. Exhausted, I leaned against the rear window. Why, won't you sit in the front seat anymore? Rubbing my temples, I gave a half-hearted reply. Not sitting. We remained silent the whole way home. I changed my shoes and headed to my room. Xiao Jin, is your insomnia any better? I answered without turning around. No. Then suddenly, someone grabbed my hand. Zhou Mu's grip was vice-like, his fingertips trembling with the strain. Xiao Jin, tell me, just tell me what's wrong. Please, why do we sleep in separate rooms the moment you return? Why do you come home later each night? Why do you pretend to be affectionate in public, yet refuse to speak to me at home? Why? It's like you don't love me anymore. Let go, I said calmly. Zhou Mu released his grip. A large red patch had formed around the wrist bone. I massaged it gently, and the pain eased slightly. Don't you have anything to confess? I met Mu's gaze from last week and shot back the question. I stared into his eyes for a long moment. For example, they say if you kiss someone you love during the first snow, you'll be happy forever. Zhou Mu's face turned deathly pale, his back slowly curling inward. After what felt like an eternity, he finally whispered, you saw everything. Chen Wei picked the most conspicuous spot. It was impossible to miss. I forced a smile that looked more like a grimace. Zhou Mu, that night when I was drunk, I told you I'd loved you for 10 years, when you finally held me and said you loved me. Was it the same feeling as 2 years ago? When you replied to that post saying you loved Chen Wei, it's different, he blurted out anxiously, trying to explain himself. I smiled, slammed the bedroom door shut, stopped listening to him. I stopped needing answers long ago. Zhou Mu, 19, I didn't divorce Zhou Muti, he's been treating me better, but also clinging to me more intensely. He makes breakfast before work, picks me up afterward, buys me flowers, my favorite treats, and all sorts of coveted gifts that require real effort to obtain. My colleagues would tease me, Sis Jean, your husband adores you so much, what's your secret? I'd just smile. Whenever Chen Wei called, he'd discreetly hang up. Chen Wei showed up unannounced one day, the same cafe as last time. Her previous composure was gone, with none of that arrogant provocation she'd shown me. What did you do? Chen Wei stared daggers at me, her knuckles turning white from gripping the cup. I took a sip of coffee and smiled at her. I didn't do anything, just told him how much I used to love him. Owner's exclusive contact pushpin WeChat, QQ number 1797328031, then walked away without looking back. Why get divorced just to make things easier for them? One can't get what they desire, the other can't salvage what's lost. Isn't this actually better? Song Jin, he doesn't love you. It's me he loves, me. Chen Wei lost her composure, shouting at me in fury. She kept repeating it over and over. But there wasn't much conviction behind her words. Is that so? I set down my coffee and stood up, then convinced Zhou Mu to divorce me. Can you actually do that? What's this? Chen Wei, 20, Zhou Mu asked me out for a Valentine's date. I agreed, but we ended up meeting at the same restaurant as that day. Zhou Mu's expression momentarily stiffened upon arrival, but he swiftly masked it with practiced ease. He set down a gift box. I saw this last time, it suits you perfectly, thank you. I lifted the lid of the gift box to reveal an exquisite pink diamond necklace that must have cost a fortune. Sorry I've been swamped lately and didn't get you a proper present. It's fine. Zhou Mu smiled with obvious ingratiation. Having you here with me today is the greatest gift. His words were drowned in the sudden downpour of red wine, white shirt stained. Crimson droplets fell from tangled hair onto the table as I activated the camera, aiming it at the figure across from me. Zhou Mu. Chen Wei's wine glass shattered on the floor, exploding into fragments. Her voice was shrill and heart-wrenching. You spent Valentine's Day with her. Why won't you reply to my messages? Have you fallen for someone else? Tell me, have you? I've truly fallen for her. Zhou Mu remained silent, standing to accept the towel from the waiter and wiping the red wine from his face. Curious stares from all directions closed in around us. Yet I sat perfectly composed in my seat, watching this farce unfold. I'm sorry. Zhou Mu ignored her and turned to me. Xiao Jin, there's been a slight complication. The nearby waiter had already started intercepting Chen Wei. Don't be angry, I'll make it up. Song Jin. Chen Wei suddenly turned her gaze to me. You did that on purpose. Novel Collection Pushpin WeChat, QQ1797328031. You did this deliberately, didn't you? You messaged me on purpose, pissed me off on purpose, lured me here on purpose, just to humiliate me. Her rage escalated as she grabbed a bottle from the table and hurled it straight at me. In the blink of an eye, someone stepped in front of me. The sickening thud of heavy weight hitting flesh sent chills down my spine. Zhou held me tight in his arms. I could hear his heartbeat growing louder with each passing second. Daily updates Pushpin WeChat, QQ1797328031, yet my face remained expressionless. Chen Wei was held back there, her hand still frozen in the throwing position. Zhou whirled around and slapped her hard across the face with lightning speed. My heart hasn't changed, Chen Wei, she's my real wife. The crowd gasped in shock, and I heard people whispering, calling Chen Wei crazy. How dare this homewrecker flaunt herself before the actual wife? Chen Wei just stared at Zhou with a deathly pale face, weeping uncontrollably. The farce finally subsided after the waiter escorted Chen Wei out. I'd lost all appetite for dinner. And Zhou looked thoroughly disheveled, so we simply left. 21. While waiting for the car by the entrance, Zhou turned to apologize. Sorry, Xiao Jin, I asked you out only for us to run into this mess. If you're free, let's try again tomorrow. Not available tomorrow. I cut him off. The air suddenly felt thin. I dragged the video progress bar back slightly. When I looked up again, Zhou had been watching me all along. The dark stain still marked his white shirt as his hair fell forward. Those striking phoenix eyes half-lidded, his irises shimmered like storm-tossed waves, or perhaps shards of fractured light. I saw a crimson trail streak from the corner of his eye. His voice quivered into fragments. Why aren't you angry? I've known Zhou for over 20 years, chased after him for more than a decade. He's perpetually gentle, eternally composed, always self-possessed, as dependable as an elder brother. He stepped forward and grasped my wrist, careful not to squeeze too hard. A shadow loomed over me, yet it felt like a teetering glass tower. She said you were the one who sent her the address. Xiao Jin, why aren't you angry? Please be mad at me. You yell at me, you hit me, just fight with me. I'll give you anything you want, please. He rested his head on my shoulder, and I felt a faint dampness seeping through. Please, Xiao Jin, anything, I'll do anything, just don't leave me. The late winter wind carried a lingering chill against my face. Zhou's sandalwood scent enveloped me completely. His embrace was suffocatingly tight. His scorching breath crept down the neckline of my clothes, yet I remained frozen in that stiff posture, like a wooden puppet. Zhou refused to let go. I knew he was waiting for me to speak, but I said nothing. 22. The next morning, Zhou acted like nothing had happened and still got up early to make me breakfast. I was in too much of a hurry to bother. After I arrived at the office, he ordered me takeout again. My colleague walked into my office drooling. Auntie Jean, can you really finish all that breakfast? I smiled and asked. Hungry, want some? Her eyes lit up. Thanks Auntie Jean. Claim benefits Pushpin WeChat, QQ1797328031. I caught a glimpse of the note on the takeout as she leaned in. Zhou had written eat properly in the remarks. Before she could speak, I snatched the note and tossed it away. She immediately fell silent and quietly ate her food. Zhou came to pick me up after work again, as if he didn't have a job of his own, his car parked right at the office entrance, making my coworkers envy me for landing such a great husband. After saying goodbye to everyone, I finally opened the door and got in the back seat. Zhou handed me a warm bottle of pear syrup. Heard you coughing a bit yesterday, thanks. I took it and casually placed it by the car door. We maintained a superficial peace between us, as if nothing had ever happened. All the way home, Zhou didn't follow when I got off the car. He only came upstairs after I reached our doorstep, still holding the thermos he'd handed me when we first got in the car. Sorry about that. I left it by the side door and completely forgot. Zhou remained silent. He stood at the foot of the stairs looking up at me, backlit. His face was shadowed, his expression unreadable. After what felt like an eternity, he finally spoke. Xiao Jin, you still care about me, since you're not bringing up divorce, right? I averted my gaze from his face, staring into emptiness. You're wrong, I replied with a smile. Why must you keep pressing? Why must I spell it out for you that I don't love you anymore? Why tear off that fig leaf when adults knowingly maintain it for decency's sake? The adult world is entangled with too many competing interests. My love for Zhou died the day I finished reading that post, leaving love behind, weighing whether marriage or divorce would maximize my benefits. The conclusion was clear: staying married to Zhou Mu yields greater advantages, provided I maintain no emotional attachments elsewhere. The connections and resources Zhou Mu provides are what keep me in this marriage. Business is business. If love demands absolute sincerity untainted by self-interest, then after love faded, all that remained between Zhou Mu and me was calculation. I met Zhou Mu's gaze with a faint smile. My eyes never wavered. I'm just making the most of what I have. Don't you get it, Zhou Mu? Our marriage lost its love long ago. What remains are hollow calculations and desperate attempts to please. A frigid relationship sustained only by legal bonds. Zhou Mu staggered slightly. I thought he'd be angry. He would get angry, but he didn't. He took a deep breath and forcibly swallowed all his emotions. His voice was barely above a whisper, like the flutter of a butterfly's wings, so fragile it might break with the slightest touch. It's fine, as long as you don't mention divorce. Not right now. I smiled. Ruthlessly snapped the butterfly's wings. When I meet someone who makes my heart flutter again, all bets are off. No, absolutely not. Zhou Mu's composure shattered in an instant. You can't do this, Xiao Jin. I love you. You can't love anyone else, Xiao Jin. I have no interest in watching his meltdown. Walked straight in through the front door. Zhou Mu, cut the crazy act. 23. Emotions are beyond our control. There's no sense clinging to what hurts you. My decade-long secret love for Zhou Mu was undeniably real. But I know better than anyone, love yourself before loving others. If I truly loved him beyond reason, I wouldn't have chosen my own future without hesitation when going abroad. The path of love is rough, and stumbles are inevitable, yet I'll always have the courage to love again and the resolve to never look back, because I will always love myself most. Epilogue. Childhood sweethearts parted. Daily updates. Pushpin WeChat. QQ1797328*0*31. Zhou Mu called Song Jin in the throes of high fever. Call after call yielded only busy signals. Sorry, the number you dialed is currently engaged. He kept calling and hanging up, over and over. The line just wouldn't connect. Feverish and disoriented, he dropped the phone on the floor, unsure if his last attempt had gone through. He woke up in the hospital. Zhou Mu opened his eyes to a blinding white wall and stared blankly for a long moment. Someone beside him suddenly spoke. You're awake. It was Song Jin. She reached over to check his forehead temperature, then poured him a glass of water. Zhou Mu had a momentary daze, almost thinking he was dreaming, until the cool touch pressed against his forehead. He tried to speak, but his throat burned with pain. Only after taking the water from Song Jin and drinking it did he feel slightly better. Novel collection. Pushpin WeChat. QQ1797328*031. It had been ages since he'd seen Song Jin like this. At home, they behaved like distant roommates. Though Song Jin treated him with courtesy, he knew it was merely her polite demeanor toward acquaintances. Xiao Jin, he blurted out urgently. He wanted to ask if she'd received his call. Was she the one who brought him to the hospital? Have you been keeping vigil by his bedside all this time? Before he could finish, Song Jin asked him, are you hungry? What would you like to eat? Pork rib soup. He did it on purpose. Once upon a time, Song Jin fell ill. He would make her pork rib soup. Later, Song Jin insisted on learning how to cook it, saying she'd take good care of him when he got sick. Unable to refuse, he taught her. He brought it up deliberately, trying to rekindle something. Song Jin's fingers kept tapping the screen as she nodded. I placed the order. Should be here soon. Zhou Mu froze momentarily. He was asking for too much. He actually thought she'd cook for him. Song Jin stood up. Just press the bedside bell if you need anything. Your meal will arrive shortly. Zhou Mu stared at her, momentarily dazed. Where are you headed? I've got a meeting this afternoon, so I'll head out first. Song Jin gave a slight nod and walked toward the door. Zhou Mu wanted to call out to her. The lingering fever left his mind in a fog. He suddenly grabbed Song Jin's sleeve. Song Jin turned to look at him. Will you stay with me? He knew he'd said the wrong thing when Song Jin's expression suddenly changed. Yet she maintained her composure. I'm sorry. That meeting is crucial. What meeting could possibly be more important than a patient? He wanted to ask her. He wanted to say, you weren't like this before. He wanted to remind her. You promised you'd take good care of me. He wanted to say, but you promised, you swore, you loved me. Yet no words escaped his lips. The last shred of reason reminded him. He alone had destroyed it all. He let go. Sorry, go ahead. In the beginning, Zhou Mu thought it was enough that they hadn't divorced yet. As long as they remained married, he still had time to win Song Jin back. After all, She had loved him so deeply before. Later he realized his mistake. Song Jin rejected his overtures. To the outside world, they remained the picture of marital bliss, but behind closed doors, they were merely polite housemates. Zhou Mu's breakfasts for Song Jin always went uneaten. The occasional reciprocal gifts she gave seemed thoughtlessly chosen, devoid of any genuine sentiment. He told himself it didn't matter, that someday he'd finally win Song Jin's heart, yet the more affection he showed, the icier her indifference became. 1. The journey back from banquets or parental visits was always Zhou Mu's most agonizing moment. That's when the emotional whiplash hit hardest. The beaming companion would abruptly release his hand, leaving only fading warmth in the crook of his arm. He'd actually thought about it before. Breakdowns are never rare occurrences. He begged Song Jin to scold him, gripping her hand to slap himself, pleading with red-rimmed eyes for her resentment, but Song Jin remained silent, withdrawing her hand from his grasp. With a soft sigh, she said, "Stop this nonsense." His gaze was calm. He looked like a criminal with nowhere to hide. He was being unreasonable from start to finish. It was at that moment he realized regret and sorrow were futile. Song Jin would never look back, so in the end, he still thought, as long as Song Jin didn't file for divorce, it would be enough. Even if she was just using him, even if she was scheming against him, even if there was no love, none of it mattered. As long as she was willing to stay by his side, as long as she remained his wife in name, that'll do. Yet those words hung over Zhou Mu's head like the sword of Damocles. He never knew when the blade might fall, and he lived in constant dread of its descent. The one thing he could never, ever accept: she fell in love with someone else. Zhou Mu was hospitalized for 2 days. Song Jin didn't show up the next day. Even when he got home, there was still no sign of her. He texted Song Jin, but it took hours to get a reply saying she was away on business. Their last conversation had been 2 weeks ago. Zhou Mu asked if she was free. A friend had given him 2 tickets to a musical. "I don't enjoy musicals, sorry." Zhou Mu stared at this message for a long time. She used to watch them with him before. Resource group contact, QQ 179-732-8031. On their way back, Song Jin walked arm in arm with him, her steps light and cheerful. Zhou Mu smiled as he watched her. "I had such a wonderful time today, but it wasn't the musical that made her happy, it's about them being together." Zhou Mu typed and deleted repeatedly in the chat box before finally sending a message. "I've been discharged from the hospital." After some thought, it was recalled and changed to "Safe travels." There was no reply from the other end. Zhou Mu sighed and put down his phone. The city bustled with evening activity, lights twinkling in every household. Workers returned home as the aroma of home-cooked meals wafted through the neighborhood. Laughter and cheerful voices of families filled the air. Zhou Mu sat alone in the darkness, the lights left off. Suddenly, the house felt unbearably empty. He never used to feel this way before, when Song Jin wasn't busy. She loved curling up on the couch watching anime. It seemed like a habit she'd picked up from living at his place. After she returned from abroad, he thought Song Jin seemed more mature, almost unfamiliar to him. Only later did I realize she hadn't changed at all. She still loves anime, still calls him Brother Mu, laughs heartily when happy, and is easily comforted when upset. Truth be told, Zhou Mu was delighted. At work, Song Jin is highly capable and exceptionally competent. Everyone praises her independence, but only he truly knows. His little girl still knows how to be playful, watching children's cartoons, laughing and crying along with the characters. Only he knows. He had secretly reveled in this. Only he knew this side of Song Jin. Song Jin returned from her business trip one evening. She hadn't told him when she'd be back. Zhou Mu happened to run into them when he came downstairs. He saw Song Jin standing face to face with a man. The two were deep in conversation. And Song Jin's smiling eyes radiated a vitality he hadn't seen in her for ages. The man lowered his gaze slightly, his usual aloof demeanor softened noticeably when facing Song Jin. They stood together, not particularly close in distance, yet radiating an unspoken harmony that left no room for outsiders. Zhou Mu suddenly burned with anger. A sour, inexplicable ache swelled in his chest. It even made him want to charge over and throw a punch at that man's face, but that would make Song Jin angry. He wanted to walk over, put his arm around her shoulders, stake his claim, and thank the man for bringing his wife home, yet his feet remained rooted to the spot, unable to move an inch. But beyond the anger, the panic hit harder this time. The sword of Damocles hangs by a thread. Could it be him? That person? Could it be him? Song Jin bid farewell and turned to walk this way. Zhou Mu's body reacted before his mind could catch up, and he immediately turned toward home. The moment Song Jin opened the door, he forced a pale smile at her. He chose to run away. While Song Jin was showering, he went through her chat history. He knew it was despicable, but he couldn't help himself. He just couldn't accept it. Can't bear the thought of Song Jin falling for someone else. Song Jin still used the same gesture password as before, unchanged. He unlocked it effortlessly. The pinned chat on WeChat was with Zhao Xing, a mutual friend. He tapped in and skimmed through the messages. Zhao Xing, just get divorced already. I'm begging you. 3. Every time I look at that husband of yours, I want to stab him twice. Song Jin replied with a doge meme. What's your type? I can set you up. You're actually pretty great, senior. They've had a crush on you for ages, you know. 4. Song Jin just replied with a doge meme. Slapping you, JPG. Zhou Mu exited and pulled up the senior's WeChat. Song Jin's contact note was simple. Just senior Xia. Nothing suggested any personal involvement. The first post was Song Jin's recent update. Thanks for seeing me home, I appreciate it. The senior replied with equal courtesy. My pleasure. The sound of running water in the bathroom continued. Skirt owner's exclusive ID pushpin WeChat. Q number 179-732-8031. Zhou Mu frantically scrolled up through the chat history. The two of them had been chatting very frequently lately. Most of the conversations revolved around work, with only occasional polite inquiries sprinkled in. Both maintained that unspoken boundary between them, neither daring to cross it. In that dazed moment, Senior Xia's new message notification popped up. I managed to snag 2 tickets for the XX exhibition. Zhou Mu was also familiar with XX. It was Song Jin's favorite anime. Zhou Mu could almost predict what he was about to say, driven by anger. He even considered giving a flat-out refusal, but then a message popped up on the other side. Not. Let's go together. Instead, you can go have fun with your friends. Zhou Mu stood frozen in place. He'd rather they'd been exchanging flirtatious banter. Daily updates pushpin WeChat. QQ number 179-732-8031. He wished Senior Xia had knowingly crossed the line by inviting her despite her marriage. She'd rather retaliate in anger by cheating on him too. That way they'd each have one affair, making them even. He wouldn't hold her mistake against her. As long as they could go back to how things were. The more this happens, the more it reveals his despicable nature. Their propriety only magnified his own sense of depravity. See, he's the only one at fault here, and he's the only truly vile one among them. Song Jin might have noticed him checking her phone, but she chose not to confront him. Zhou Mu lived in constant unease. The dread of losing her grew heavier by the day, yet he felt powerless to stop it. No matter how devoted he was to Song Jin, his efforts vanished like a clay ox in the sea, met with utter indifference. It was on a sunny afternoon that Song Jin brought up the divorce. She came with the divorce papers, sitting across from him with a calm smile. 5. Let's get divorced. The words fell like a hammer. That very instant, the sword hanging above him came crashing down, splitting him clean in two from head to toe. The heart in his left half beat slower and slower. Blood and flesh spilled across the ground. He seemed to genuinely experience heart palpitations. Facing death, breathing became difficult. Is it him? It took him a long moment to find his voice again, yet the tone sounded unnaturally shrill to his own ears. Who's there? Senior Xia, you've fallen for him, have I? Oh. Song Jin startled slightly before coming to her senses and shaking her head. I'm not in love with him, just wanted to give it a chance. Song Jin smiled. A chance for me, and for him too. After all, she looked at him, her smile deepening. Before starting a new relationship, you should properly close the previous chapter, shouldn't you? Zhou Mu felt as if something had seized his throat. 6. He wanted to tear the black and white divorce papers before him to shreds, but for the longest time, he simply said, I understand, I'll sign the divorce papers after reviewing them. Song Jin paused for a moment, then broke into a smile, with genuine delight. Yes, I'll be waiting. He wanted to cling on, afraid she might get annoyed. Let it be then. At least leave a somewhat decent ending in the end. Zhou Mu revised the divorce agreement, giving most of the assets to Song Jin. She also called to ask about it, its compensation. The person on the other end chuckled but said nothing. He lied to her. He just wanted to leave her with a good final impression when they parted ways, even though their relationship had already deteriorated beyond repair. On the day they got their divorce certificate, Song Jin came alone and left alone. Standing at the doorway, Zhou Mu asked her, need a ride? Song Jin shook her head calmly. I'll walk, Xingxing's waiting for me. Zhou Mu remained by the door, watching her figure grow smaller in the distance, until she vanished from sight. It was such a beautiful day, yet he felt absolutely miserable, completely and utterly miserable. He'd actually meant to ask her if she ever really blamed him. Truth be told, there was no need to ask, because she